What's up? What's up? It's LTMB Live. Thank you for everybody that's here with us. It is February 13th, 2020. Broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope Live. Thank you again to everybody who's with us. We have a lot to discuss on tonight's program. Of course, we have to respond to the latest primary results, and that would be New Hampshire on Tuesday evening. We briefly talked about it on the last program, but didn't have all of the results available.
What was that it was really only like 60 something percent when we left, when we got off.
Maybe. I want to say it was like at 50 something, but I'm not sure. But yeah, we didn't have all the results. Of course, we knew that Bernie Sanders was in the lead, and of course that did persist. He did end up winning the New Hampshire primary, but like I said, we have a lot to discuss on that front. A lot of reaction from corporate media outlets. Of course, we want to cover that. Definitely want to cover some Mike Bloomberg news, and also Elizabeth Warren. Some news. So what? Foreshadowing or something? What?
I mean, they'll see. They probably
yeah.
already done seen it.
Maybe if you're on Twitter, yeah, you've probably seen it. It's recent. It's recent news. Anyways, like I said, coming off of the second contest of this primary season, the first primary for the candidates to take part in, and the results. Bernie Sanders did win the state of New Hampshire. So just a little bit of the totals here. You can see Bernie Sanders at the top, 25.7% overall. He led in the overall vote count by about 3,500. Well, no, a little bit more than that, almost 4,000 votes.
I was getting a little nervous.
Yeah, it was shrinking.
Because I think when the reporting was at 50%, he had like a 6,000 vote lead.
Yeah.
And so when more precincts started reporting their numbers, the league started getting smaller. So.
Yeah, it did. But it, like I said, he held on to the lead. So good news for him. You could see on that chart because it was, I guess, a narrow victory, about 4,000 votes. Because of the proportionality of the delegates, Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg ended up with the same amount of delegates, 9. So if you're talking about the total delegates so far, Pete Buttigieg still has the most.
It's looking good right now, but what do you foresee based on the polling that's coming out, the polling data that's coming out of these states?
Pete Buttigieg definitely has a problem coming up. If you can believe the polling. And it seems to be that the polling has been somewhat accurate so far.
From what, people's viewpoint of
Right.
who they're going to vote for?
Right.
It seems to have panned out.
It
well,
does
except for Klobuchar, though. She was polling at
True.
5%.
True.
Leading up to the primaries.
True.
And then 10% a week before, and all of a sudden
It was the debate performance. That's what it's being attributed to.
she blew up.
She blew up. But anyway,
Maybe it's Warren kind of.
yeah, she took a dive.
Yeah.
But Pete Buttigieg definitely has a problem, again, if you can believe the polls, because he does not have a lot of support from people of color. So given that, in the upcoming states, he is polling not well at all, running 4th, 5th. He's not polling well at all. So him and Klobuchar are not doing well on that front when it comes to people of color. So they have performed, well, not they. Klobuchar did not perform well in Iowa. But if you're looking at both of them performing well in New Hampshire, again, New Hampshire and Iowa are two of the whitest states in the United States of America. When it gets to the more diverse states like Nevada and South Carolina, it seems like they're going to have a problem on their hands. They have communicated that they're putting more money into ads and that they're putting more people on the ground and trying to speak to voters of color and I'm just not sure exactly how that's going to work. There's only about a week left. Yeah, about a week left before the Nevada caucuses. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, like you did see, Amy Klobuchar did come in third. Pete Buttigieg came in second. Elizabeth Warren in fourth place, which is definitely.
Did she get any? Did she get any delegates?
She did not get any delegates so far, so she still has 8 from the previous
Iowa.
the previous caucus. So that's not a good look. And what's even a worse look is Joe Biden coming in 5th, also not getting any delegates either.
Now, usually what happens to the person that wins those first 2 states, usually what happens?
They end up winning the nomination. And that's just a historical perspective. I mean, if you look factually,
it doesn't necessarily mean the writing's on the wall, but
it's a lot of evidence.
It's
a whole lot of evidence, and I guess historical precedents. So we'll just see. But them doing so poorly in New Hampshire is definitely not a good look. I mean, I'm sure they wanted to perform a little bit better than that. So
and Bernie did well with all the age groups. Based on how they break the age groups down, he did well with all of them except for, I think, like 50 and up. People from the age of 18 and 25, Bernie Sanders got 48% of those. Pete got 21%. He also dominated the 25 to 29 age group and the 30 to 39 age group. Pete dominated I wouldn't say dominated. He about tied with Bernie on the 40 to 49.
Actually, who got more of the older generation, 65 and up, is Klobuchar.
Yeah.
So
that says something. You know who that says something about, though, right? Biden.
Oh yeah. And I said, how many times have I said it, that I believe that Klobuchar was the better moderate, the better centrist in the race. She just she comes across more real.
Even though she's like milquetoast,
Yeah.
she's real about her.
She's about her centrism. She's real about that. She doesn't have to. It doesn't seem as though like she's in an uncomfortable position. She just says what she believes. If it's uncomfortable for people, that's just what it is. But that's her viewpoint, and she lets you have it. Biden is clumsy. He has a worse past. It's just.
Not only is he clumsy, he is antagonistic in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
Right. He appears to be antagonistic to people questioning him, and not just other candidates or maybe the moderators during debates, but just potential voters that walk up to him during events. He just seems very he's just
combative. Right.
So, yeah, I do think that that has shown throughout this primary process, and he's looking worse than Warren.
Yeah, he is. Now, just a side note on Klobuchar, again, pointing, the next states that are coming. Of course, many of the next states that are going to be coming are, of course, much more diverse than the first 2 states. So again, these 2 candidates, Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg, are going to have to be making their case to, increase their support among these voting groups. Now, Klobuchar, we know about Pete Buttigieg. We talked about his problems with race and in his state, some issues there. We talked about that a few times with Klobuchar. Interesting, a few days ago on The View, she got challenged by Sunny Hostin. And it was about a case while she was a prosecutor in which she prosecuted a case in which a young girl was shot when she was in her home. And she convicted a 16-year-old black kid. And Sunny Hostin challenged her on that because the case was completely messy, including the fact that there were some police investigators that were offering money to people to say stuff. And I mean, it was just rife with a lot of problems. And this is a case that Amy Klobuchar has celebrated, including while she's been on the campaign trail. And her response to the significant questions about the probability or the question on if this kid is actually guilty or not, because I don't even believe there was any evidence, like any hard evidence that was pointing to his guilt. There wasn't. But anyway, her response to these questions and this problem with her is that, well, she's always said that, we need to take a look at the evidence. We always need to take a look at the evidence. You were the prosecutor at the time. He's already been convicted.
So she's taking like this hands-off approach,
Yeah.
like she had nothing to do with it.
You were the prosecutor. What are you talking about? We should have took a look at. You should have took a look at the evidence.
It is interesting that Amy Klobuchar was able to avoid the same criticism that Kamala Harris had to endure.
Yeah.
Because they were both, prosecutors.
Prosecutors.
And what label did Kamala Harris get?
She was a cop.
Cop. And I think there's maybe some things about that are a little bit nuanced that why it applied to Kamala and it didn't apply to her. I think it's still unfair, but just her name, Kamala, Cop Mala.
Yeah,
it worked. It just worked better.
It did. I get it. And also, she had more.
She was seen as cachet. Yeah, Kamala was seen as the front runner back then. I do think that. Again, I definitely didn't support Kamala Harris.
Right.
But I do think that message was specifically targeted to black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kamala's a cop. You know.
Oh, definitely.
That was definitely targeted to black people to kind of suppress black people's support for Kamala Harris.
Right.
I don't think that you really had to do that. I don't think she was a strong enough candidate.
True.
But yeah, I do think it's interesting that Amy Klobuchar, someone of the same profession, was able to avoid
same questionable background,
was able, maybe even worse,
Yeah.
Avoid that scrutiny.
Well, she's not now.
Well, and partially because she's, she's seen as a top front runner. I think now, finishing third. Look, I'm not.
I wouldn't say that.
No. When I say
that may have a chance.
So yeah, that's probably a better way to put it.
May have a
when
chance.
I say a top front runner, I'm just saying she's within a range where people can still see her as competing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
And so maybe that scrutiny is coming now because of that.
Right.
So
definitely, I understand that. So okay, let's talk about a few different things as well. The turnout. Okay. So a lot of noise has been made about specifically if Bernie Sanders can increase the turnout, because as political pundits always say, hey, he's counting on this increase of new voters, young voters, people that are disenfranchised and feel like they're disconnected to politics because they're just disillusioned with it.
Yeah,
so he needs to turn out. He needs to turn out the vote. He needs to increase the overall.
Because
vote.
I think in 2016, people talk about Hillary Clinton winning the popular vote by 3 million. That wasn't enough, obviously, because of the Electoral College.
Right.
But I think the amount of people who sat out was over double that.
Yes, it was.
It was like 7 million, over 7 million.
Yeah, true. So, how did it work out in New Hampshire this time around? Okay, so just for a little bit of context, in 1996, and the years that we're going to be focused on, 96, 2004, and 2012, the reason we're focusing on those 3 years is because those were the situations where there was an incumbent president going for his reelection, and so the other party was trying to increase. Just build a movement, build momentum, increase voter turnout. So in '96, Republicans in their primary, there were 208,740 ballots casted. Okay. Now in 2004, 8 years later, the Democrats, it was time for the Democrats to take their turn. Because there was a Republican president. 2,019,787 people voted in that primary. So about a 5% jump from the Republicans in 1996. In 2012, it was the GOP's turn now because Barack Obama was going into his reelection campaign. So in 2012, there were 248,485 ballots casted for the GOP candidates. So that was about 11.5% increase. So 2020, over 300,000 Democratic ballots were casted. And so that's a percentage jump of, I think, 16 to 17%, something like that. So we can't say that it's just specifically good for just one candidate in Bernie Sanders. You would probably say overall it's a good sign, it's a good omen for the Democratic Party because it looks like there's some interest to beating the Republican incumbent.
Yeah, I think it would be just a little bit too reductive to say that the turnout is solely because of Bernie Sanders.
Right. But you can't discount him either. You can't say that.
No, you can't discount him. Based
he didn't do anything.
I think he's a major part.
Right.
He's not the only part. He's a major part. I think the other major part is Donald Trump.
Right. Right. True. All right. So let's get up to a little bit of the reaction from this win by Bernie Sanders. So of course the media is going to have a response. We all know that. They always had a response to Bernie Sanders in 2016, and often it was negative, no matter what Bernie Sanders was doing, no matter if he was winning primaries or caucuses.
They would spin it. They would spin it.
Yes.
And it was interesting how they spun it. We don't know how. They're magicians.
Yeah. You remember the 16 negative articles from the Washington Post in 16 hours about Bernie Sanders? You remember that, right? So, it's kind of, I guess it's prudent to start with the Washington Post and see what, I guess one of their articles about what happened. So let's take a look here. The Washington Post analysis. Bernie Sanders' revolution may not materialize after narrow New Hampshire primary win. May not materialize. It's been 2 contests, and you're already speculating that may not do anything.
Okay. After both in Iowa in 2016, Hillary Clinton barely won. Hillary Clinton barely
won, and then got dominated
in New Hampshire. Like 60, he received 60-some% in New Hampshire.
But there was no narrative like this. Oh,
it's over for
Hillary.
Hillary.
On the wall for Hillary Clinton. Didn't happen.
And the narrow victory she was able to eke out in Iowa happened when it was only those 2. Well, virtually those 2. O'Malley was
2
there.
Candidates. He got like 1% or something like that. Maybe it was less than that? Damn.
8.3. It was point something. Then I think he dropped out right after that, didn't he?
He did drop out right after that. Yeah.
So
I thought it was 1 at least. Whew. Okay. All right.
So he was able to eke out a victory in Iowa with 455 candidates.
Yeah. Yes. But again, it's not going to materialize. All right, so let's keep going. What's this from? CNN. Buttigieg's strong second.
Yo. I know it's not like a championship game, but you could apply this to a regular game too, like a regular basketball game. Like if there was like a tournament that featured a multitude of teams,
right?
And you don't give the champion the headline.
Yeah.
You give the team that finished second place. You say so and so had a strong second. I'm like, nobody cares about the second place team.
Though.
They lost.
No, the headline's gonna be about the winner.
But did they even have like a headline for Bernie Sanders?
I don't know. I can't be sure.
I thought I saw one, but it was very. It was like, yeah, Sanders won. He was like, it was like, yeah, he did his thing. I can't remember what it said, but it was. Thought I saw one.
All right, so where are we gonna get to now? Jennifer Rubin. She wrote an article for the Washington Post as well, and it was titled "Sanders Won, but He's Not the Big Story Coming Out of New Hampshire." Not the big story. And you see the picture. It's of Senator Amy Klobuchar. She's the big story. Now, I do agree that it is a story, and it could also even be a big story because I don't know if anybody saw that coming, that her third place finish. So if it's a big story, it would definitely be about her eclipsing Joe Biden because they're running in the same lane. So yeah, that could be a big story. The biggest story? You're doing too much. Doing too much.
But Jennifer Rubin is a Republican, a conservative.
Oh yeah.
And a racist actually. Yeah, you should just look up some of the shit she said about Obama. Yeah. I forgot she made an appearance on some network at one point where she was apologizing for misleading her people who read her articles.
Her readers,
her readers. So.
It's always interesting when Republicans comment like they have an interest.
But what does that say about what does that say about well, not just Democrats, but specifically Amy Klobuchar? Like, why are somebody who is a Republican like boosting her?
Right.
Like that's
that should tell you something. All right, keep going. Jeremy Peters from the New York Times. Pete, after winning Iowa, is almost beating Bernie in a state Bernie won 4 years ago by 22 points. Under any normal standard of assessing the Democratic race, Pete would be called a front runner.
So, wait. Normal standard of assessing the Democratic race.
Yes.
Why? But why the Democratic race? Why wouldn't it be a normal standard of assessing a race?
Just any race, right?
All right, but let's just whatever. Scratch that word. What do you think normal means?
Normal.
What do you think normal means?
Under normal standards, right?
Normal standards.
Normal standards. I mean, normal for me is, just who won. I mean, for me, it's just who won. Who won?
So he thinks that Buttigieg should be seen as the front runner, even though he didn't win.
He didn't win.
I would be fine. I would be fine if the narrative was he did better than what was expected, and maybe that is a sign that he is gaining some momentum in the primary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah.
I'll be fine with that. Because we both agree that he's doing better than we thought. Most people would agree with that.
Sure.
But why do you have to do the most? Why do the most and like make it like he is the actual winner? You
Yeah,
don't have
like
to do that.
like he's the biggest story.
Because it's actually, it's so funny. It's not even about Buttigieg in this case. It's not even about Buttigieg. It's
about dismissing Bernie.
It's about dismissing Bernie. Because I guarantee you, if Warren had the same finish as Bernie did,
Oh yeah, the story would not be the same.
the story would not
narrative
be
would
about
not be
Buttigieg.
No. And you see how this is just one instance that somebody in the media is pointing to how Bernie Sanders didn't do as well as last time.
Now,
in
why would that be?
2016.
Now, why would that be?
I mean, it's clear.
What comes to your mind initially?
Oh, well, it's clear that we have, like, what did you say, 455? Or 454.
I think that's what I said.
54 candidates.
I lose count.
Yeah, I know, me too. We did have some drop-offs. But anyway, we'll get to that. Yeah, 454 candidates this time around. Last time there were only 2. So Bernie Sanders had a big win in 2016, but this time around the margin was smaller. It couldn't be because there were 454 candidates. It couldn't be that.
Yeah, the performance gap between the candidates is going to be smaller naturally.
Naturally, because there are other candidates.
Yeah, when there's only 2 candidates, of course, the winning candidate is going to get a larger percentage. Actually, the losing candidate probably got a larger percentage.
Right. True.
I think. Actually, yeah. I think Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Because it was like what? I want to look it up real
60,
quick. 60 to 30 something,
Yeah,
60 something to 30 something,
Yeah.
or 60 to 40, whatever it was.
60 to 38, I think.
Something like
I
that.
think it was, yeah.
So the loser
Yeah.
got a higher percentage than the winner.
Yeah. Than the overall winner.
So what does that say?
Ridiculous. But this is more that narrative that we saw on MSNBC.
The victory of a guy that got 60% last time. And Buttigieg and Klobuchar together trounced Bernie tonight.
Wait. Hold up.
Buttigieg and Klobuchar trounced Bernie Sanders tonight.
So
You just merge their totals. You just got to merge. Just a quick merge. It's just simple addition.
Buttigieg. It's like they just smash them together.
Klobuchar.
Oh, that's a mouthful. Don't say it.
No.
Don't say it.
Klobuchar.
Klobuchar. Either way.
Yeah.
Either way, they got smashed together.
Yeah. You smash them together, and they dominated Bernie Sanders. But I don't think that's how elections work. Can you do that?
Oh, he just did.
Yeah, he did just do that.
He did it.
This was a graphic that was seen on I don't know if I don't know which one it was. It was CNN or MSNBC. But this look, hey, Sanders versus the moderates.
Yo, that
Buddha Budin. Buddha Budin.
Buddha.
Yeah, I'm trying to include all their names in this. Yeah, the Buddha Budin team.
By the Butcher Gang. By the Butcher Gang. That's all.
Yeah, but if you include Biden in there now, yeah, of course they crushed Senator Bernie Sanders. So the moderates, they're the winners.
They had to create like a moderate Voltron.
Yeah, a moderate Voltron. Yeah,
to beat Bernie Sanders.
it's crazy, but this is what they're doing. Also, there's this new thing that the media is doing now as well, and that's this call to vet Bernie Sanders. So we saw that quite a bit, and here's just one example of that, and this is from CNN contributor Amanda Carpenter, the Republican. Too many people have refused to believe Sanders could become the nominee and therefore have refused to vet him. Let the vetting begin. Are you telling me, Mike, is there some way, somehow, I mean, in this reality, did Bernie Sanders make it all the way through the 2016 the Democratic presidential primaries without being vetted?
If he did, who would that be an indictment on?
Ooh.
If this was actually true, right? Who would that be an indictment on? And whose campaign would that be an indictment on? If he made it through the primaries, the last go-round, without being vetted or his record not being questioned or things from his past not coming up. If that actually happened.
If that was true, that would be an indictment on Hillary Clinton and her campaign. But not just Hillary Clinton and her campaign.
The media.
The media as well. From 4 years ago.
Wait a second. So 16 articles in how much time?
16 hours. 16
negative articles in 16 hours.
But he wasn't vetted.
So you mean to tell me which is even funnier. We already know it's not true.
Yes, it's not.
But there are two things that can't be true. Like, he wasn't vetted and the Bernie blackout.
True. That's true.
They can't be true.
Yeah.
Because because both of those would be the fault of the media, right? We know there was a Bernie blackout.
Yes,
so now the same media or people in the same media are claiming that he wasn't vetted.
You could make that case in early 2015, mid 2015, because really that was the heart of the Bernie blackout. 2015.
It was a blackout of anything positive.
Oh yes,
that's what the Bernie blackout was, because they didn't black out anything that was negative.
True. But they often did. I will say in 2015 they often did not discuss Bernie Sanders
because he was polling low.
Yeah,
but once he started
Once
he started polling higher,
then the 16 articles in 16 hours came out, stuff like that. And then if we fast forward to 2019 and 2020, we are still seeing the same thing. Look, how many times have I said it's been the full court press on Bernie Sanders in recent weeks? It's not, I'm just not dreaming that up. No, it's been a full court press. People have been attacking Bernie Sanders consistently. And with, just this fierceness to it. So the notion that he has not been vetted is completely absurd. But it's out there. That's like the new right now.
Well, that's what you say when you haven't been able to find anything to damage his campaign to a point where he loses support from a lot of people. Right? You just say, well, he's still not a good candidate. We haven't found anything yet because he hasn't been vetted. So you have to rationalize why he's still doing well. You have to rationalize why he's still popular. You have to rationalize why he's still the front runner. And the only thing they can come up with, well, he hasn't been vetted. Once we vet him, he'll lose support.
Why did he win in 2016 too? I mean, we're talking about the same state, New Hampshire. Why did he win in 2016 too? I mean, he hasn't been vetted. Like, I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. This is a good time though to segue to Senator Elizabeth Warren,
who didn't. Who? That's a neighboring state. That's neighboring, with Massachusetts.
Are you sure? It is. You sure? I
think it's a neighboring state.
I just want to be certain.
I think it's I think New Hampshire is a neighboring state within the area.
I just want to be
within the vicinity of Massachusetts.
I want the geography to be on point. I just don't. You know what I'm saying? I want to throw no stones, and you know what I'm saying. I just want to be accurate here. But anyway, again, a nice little segue to Senator Elizabeth Warren and her campaign. Again, in New Hampshire, she did not perform well whatsoever. She did come in above Joe Biden, but still fourth place. No delegates, only about 9% of the vote. Not good. Now, going forward, looking at the next states, looking at Nevada, looking at South Carolina, looking at the states on Super Tuesday. She's not really polling at the top of any of these states here. So the question, of course, would be, where is this campaign going from now on? How can this campaign stay in the race and still make noise? How can you still be, I guess, perceived as viable? So Elizabeth Warren's campaign manager, a guy by the name of Robert Lau, he put out a letter, and this was a lengthy letter. As I guess this is to supporters and to whoever else, kind of charting their pathway forward and explaining the rationale to why they're going to make the noise coming very soon. So we're going to show the letter, well, parts of the letter actually, and just kind of her. I guess the strategy here is to poo-poo on everybody else's campaign. I guess everybody else's campaign that's performing at the top.
Do what, Will?
Poo-poo. Poo-poo. Yes. Poo-poo on other candidates. Okay. So starting with Senator Sanders. So you can see it says Senator Sanders starts with a ceiling that's significantly lower than the support he had 4 years ago. Same narrative. Same narrative. Significantly lower than the support he had 4 years ago. And again, we just got done with New Hampshire. So, I mean, again, this is the narrative that's out there.
He has a lower ceiling, but he's breaking all these records in regard to donations.
Lower support.
He has over a million volunteers.
Lower support.
They had to, on the graphic that the New York Times released, where it was the color-coded donation chart for each candidate, and they had a color for each candidate, and they kind of had it like a little overlaid over the United States to show where the candidates were getting donations from. They had to remove Bernie from that. They did do it for Bernie, but in order to see where everybody else's donations were coming from, they had to remove him, his color, because you couldn't see anybody else's.
Again, I'm going to heed the words of Robert Lau, because he obviously knows what he's talking about. Bernie has less support, and of course the ceiling is less. So let's keep going. It also says towards the end of that first paragraph, it says, in New Hampshire, he is on track to receive around half of his 2016 vote share as well. And he hasn't yet faced the scrutiny of his record that will surely come with any further rise. Again, it seems like it's coordinated.
Wait.
It seems like it's not just Senator Elizabeth Warren's campaign that's saying that, but it's the media as well. It's not just one attack, it's both of them. It's that he has significantly less support than he had in 2016 with only 2 candidates in the race, but also he hasn't been vetted, and when he does, it's going to slow his rise.
Wait a second. How can it be both?
Coordinated.
How can it be both? You're saying his ceiling is lower. His ceiling is low. But he hasn't been vetted.
Nope.
Well, wouldn't he have more support if he hadn't been vetted? Because they're saying once he gets vetted, it's going to go down.
Right.
It would be no point to say his ceiling is low and he has less support now, because the narrative about him not being vetted would not coincide with that.
Right.
You would say that he has too much support, and once he gets vetted, it's going to go down.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but has he been watching the debates? Has he been watching the debates? Like, and how the moderators have been approaching Bernie Sanders?
Oh no, kid gloves. Kid gloves. They haven't been attacking Bernie Sanders at all. Medicare for all, and foreign policy, climate change.
The next two moderators, the next debate, the two moderators. I think one of them is going to be Chuck Todd, right?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember, but there's two moderators. One of them is going to be a guy that referred to Bernie Sanders supporters as brown shirts. Jewish presidential candidate referred to his supporters as brown shirts.
That's cool.
The other moderator, he's the one who pushed that. Remember the chair throwing narrative
in
Nevada
Nevada?
last year.
Well, in like 2016.
I think those are going to be two moderators. But yeah, no, the media has not been vetting Bernie Sanders or have been scrutinizing him at all.
Yeah, we've seen the
Bernie
lower thirds when when the questions are asked during the debates, and the questions are often, why is Bernie's idea so bad? Why is he going to wreck the country? Why is he going to bankrupt the country? Why is he wrong? All the time, but he's not been vetted. Okay. All right. Well, okay. I guess now you got to vet him. I wonder what else are you going to do? I mean, if we haven't already seen the onslaught, if we haven't already seen the full court press, what are they going to do now? We'll see. But again, staying with Warren, also, let me go back to the letter because it wasn't just about Bernie Sanders, but of course he did lead it off. But her campaign manager also talked about former Vice President Joe Biden entered the race as a clear front runner, but now he's been polling under 30%, even among older voters and African American voters. Buttigieg, the most significant challenge is yet to come as the contest moves into states with more diverse electorates. Former Mayor Bloomberg has poured hundreds of millions of dollars into the March states. Keep in mind, Bloomberg will soon be forced to actually debate his record rather than hiding behind millions in TV ads. And then Senator Klobuchar, getting a well-deserved look from voters for the first time, but hasn't been able to build out infrastructure for the long haul. Also, she hasn't yet faced the tough questions and scrutiny that accompany rising momentum. So this campaign, Senator Warren's campaign, has much to say about the other campaigns. I mean, it's all negative, actually. I mean, like, all these other campaigns that are actually competing, I guess the top 6 candidates or so, they all have problems. Man, I mean, things are looking poorly. The future is grim for all of these campaigns. But I guess Elizabeth Warren's campaign is on the rise. There's nothing wrong with Elizabeth Warren's campaign, except this.
Already raised $5 million since Iowa, and I am so grateful for your support. But I need to level with you. Our movement needs critical funds so I can remain competitive in this race through Super Tuesday. A third of delegates don't get decided until Super Tuesday. So what we do now matters more than ever. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines, now's the time.
Woo!
You know the emoji? The not looking good. Not looking good. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, especially after that memo was released, especially after her performance in Iowa and New Hampshire.
Yeah.
She's looking real desperate. I mean, she could have, I think she could have, like, played it up a little bit, though. She could have, like, wore some, like, tattered clothes, like a potato sack or something. Maybe she should have, like,
Disheveled.
Looked disheveled. Maybe she should have messed her hair up. Maybe she should have, like, had, like, a cardboard sign.
A cup.
Cup and a cardboard sign, like a jiggle and change. You know what I'm saying? Should have played it up a little bit.
It's not looking good. Usually when campaigns start begging. when they start saying things like, or suggesting things like, we may not be able to compete anymore if we don't raise significant funds. When campaigns start doing that, the end is near. It's happened many times before. It's happened in this race for president. It's happened to a few different candidates. Didn't have the money to continue. Senator Kamala Harris.
Cory Booker?
To continue. Cory Booker. Julian Castro. I mean, didn't have... I believe the first one actually was Beto O'Rourke. Didn't have the money to compete anymore. So...
and he came from a large state.
Yeah. So, again, not looking good. Not looking good. So anyway, let's keep going. Now, the next state, Nevada, is the next state. Some news broke, some negative news, specifically targeted to Bernie Sanders from the state of Nevada. So the Culinary Union, they had a recent flyer go out, and they wrote on it that I guess they were comparing the different candidates and the different candidates' healthcare plans. And so about Senator Bernie Sanders, they said that Sanders would, quote, end culinary healthcare, end quote, if elected president. So that, of course...
untrue.
Yeah. So,
Well,
I mean...
harsh. It's mainly deceptive.
It's very deceptive. But where I was going was that, of course, that raised some eyebrows. It drew some attention to this. Not just from the media, but of course, supporters of Bernie Sanders. So, I guess a few Sanders supporters reached out to the Culinary Union on social media, and I guess they said some mean things. I guess they said some mean things on Twitter. I mean, that's surprising that somebody would say some mean things or maybe some critical things on Twitter. It's very, very surprising, but I guess it happened. We don't have proof that it happened, but we do have the Culinary Union saying that it happened. So they actually were revealed that Senator Sanders supporters were saying mean things to him. So then they put out in a tweet or a letter, they said, our union believes that everyone has the right to good health care and that health care should be a right, not a privilege. I'm going to come back to that. We have already enacted a vision for what working people and for what working people need, and it exists now. Workers should have the right to choose to keep the health care Culinary Union members have built, sacrificed for, and went on strike for 6 years, 4 months, and 10 days to protect. It goes on to say, it's disappointing that Senator Sanders supporters have viciously attacked the Culinary Union and working families in Nevada simply because our union has provided facts on what certain healthcare proposals might do to take away the system of care we have built over 8 decades. So, again, specifically, it's about Senator Sanders supporters and I guess the mean things that they have said about him. Now, of course, they're the ones that made it public about what they felt about the different candidates' proposals and what they felt about specifically Bernie Sanders' proposals. When you do things like that publicly, and you do exist in the Twitter sphere, you do exist on Facebook or wherever you exist in public, you put out your ideas and your thoughts in public.
Ideas and thoughts about a presidential candidate.
Yes. A weird thing tends to happen. You receive pushback. It doesn't matter what your idea is. It doesn't matter what your thought is, what your feeling is. There's going to be somebody that disagrees with you, especially when it comes to politics and political campaigns, especially a presidential campaign. So, again, I guess some people said some mean things. We don't know how many. They didn't say how many, but they feel some type of way about it.
Did they really attack the union itself, right? Or did they attack the union bosses, right, for gatekeeping the idea of health care? Because you said you were going to get back to something. What was that?
The very first statement that they made, well, it was because this was a clip of the overall statement, but the very first sentence in the quote I read you, said our union believes that everyone has the right to good health care and that health care should be a right, not a privilege.
That's confusing.
That's very, very confusing given their stance. That they disagree with Medicare for All, which would provide health care for all.
Which makes it a right.
Which makes it a right.
Like, actually, wouldn't their jobs be a lot easier? Think about it. Wouldn't their jobs be a lot easier if they didn't have to go through all this?
Right. Negotiate their health care plans with their employers, their jobs would be a lot easier. And let's say in right-to-work states where unions do exist, let's say that somebody gets fired from their job where they have a union. Are they privy to that health care plan anymore?
If healthcare was a right, they would be.
If healthcare was a right, they would. But given that we don't live in a society where healthcare is a right, if they if they leave that job, they leave that healthcare plan. They're not covered anymore. So how do they believe that healthcare should be a right?
And how they, and exactly? And if they believe healthcare is a right, it wouldn't just be about them.
Right.
Because all jobs don't have unions organizing.
Yes.
So what about those people?
I mean, we've talked about Walmart before and how they have successfully and consistently battled having a union presence. And they have, I guess, conveyed to their employees, hey, get out there and go on social welfare programs, That's what we want you to do to supplement your low income. We have many situations where there are no union presence. But I guess it's a good situation for this particular union, so screw everybody else. We don't care. We've already, negotiated what's good for us. We don't want it taken away from us. But it's not being taken away. See, that's another ridiculous narrative that's being tossed about. Healthcare is not being taken away from anybody. Now, private healthcare, the private healthcare industry, private healthcare companies, would they have a role in just regular medicine anymore? No, they wouldn't. They would still be around, I'm sure, if you wanted to give your money for some kind of coverage, whatever type of coverage, I'm sure they'll take your money. But just regular healthcare, there's no need for them to have a presence. But that doesn't mean your healthcare is going to be taken away from you. The private healthcare plan that you have would be gone, but it would be gone if you lose your job too. It's just a ridiculous narrative. But guess who chimed in? Few candidates chimed in. One being Senator Elizabeth Warren. She said, excuse me, no one should attack the Culinary Union and its members for fighting hard for themselves and their families. Like them, I want to see every American get high quality and affordable health care, and I'm committed to working with them to achieve that goal. Now, it's interesting that she would have this kind of response. I mean, it's timely. I'm not surprised, but it's interesting that she would have this kind of response because they didn't have anything good to say about her plan either, because she is promoting the idea that she wants Medicare for all. I doubt it, but still, that's what she's promoting. They don't want Medicare for all, so they said that she wanted Medicare for all as a negative. But I guess any time there's an opportunity to pile on and attack Bernie Sanders and his supporters.
This is definitely coordinated because I do believe I saw an article just like this in 2016. It just seems very timely. Mm-hmm. He was apparently, there was some, they accused Bernie's campaign of sending agitators to some sort of union event or some sort of boycott somewhere. They accused Bernie's campaign. It was never verified.
Right.
So this is definitely coordinated.
Yeah. Senator Amy Klobuchar, she got involved as well. She said, I stand with the Culinary Union, and let's be clear, attacks on the union are unacceptable. I come from a family of proud union members, and I know when unions are strong, America is strong. That's a strong comment, right?
This is pathetic, man. This is pathetic. Like, again, who fired the first shots?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like there's this, I don't know. It's like
publicly fired the first shot. Yeah.
This seems to be a trend where somebody, some group opens their greasy mouth hole, right?
Right.
It says something, something disingenuous, puts out a false narrative, puts out half-truth, takes something out of context,
Right.
misquotes, whatever, in regard to Bernie Sanders. And then we as Bernie Sanders supporters are expected to
Keep quiet. Don't say nothing.
let it go unchecked.
Yep.
And if we do respond to it, to try to set the record straight or try to offer some sort of counterpoint, then
We're mean. We're Bernie bros.
we're rude, we're bullies.
Right.
Like
Right.
some serious gaslighting.
Again, you're in the public space. You have a public account on public social media social media platforms, but you don't expect any pushback. And if you do get pushback, you cry tears. Pete Buttigieg also responded. We have a graphic of this one. He said on Twitter, there are 14 million union workers in America who have fought hard for strong employer-provided health benefits. Medicare for All who want it protects their plans and union members' freedom to choose the coverage that's best for them. Choice! We have to preserve choice in America.
They're not, see, that's the thing. They're not fighting for actual choice here. Yes, they are fighting to have the benefit, but the benefit itself, they have nothing to do with. Meaning, like, the packages that are offered to them, they have nothing to do with.
It might be the case where, if you have a union presence, then maybe you can negotiate for what you want, stuff like that. If you have a union presence. But if you don't have a union presence,
yeah.
there is no negotiating. You get what they offer. That is it. Whatever company that they're going to be associated with that year, that's it. You can't request Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or United Healthcare. You can't request any of these other companies. You get what they're offering. In terms of plans, it is what it is. If you don't choose this one and that's the only one available, you're screwed. You're out of luck. Sorry, you're not getting healthcare now.
And the thing is, why, like, their main argument is, hey, we've been negotiating this whole time, and you're taking that away from us. I was like, why should it even have to be a negotiation in the first place?
Right. And why should it be tied to employment?
Why should it be tied to employment? And the reason why there are constant negotiations and they have to fight so hard to get these benefits and just put so much energy and effort into it is because of the rising cost of healthcare.
That's correct.
Like this is why they constantly have to go back to the drawing board, because the rising cost of healthcare. If the cost of healthcare didn't keep going up, we wouldn't constantly have these boycotts.
Right.
Unions wouldn't constantly have to, stick their chest out to demand
protest.
Yeah.
Go on strike. All of this. It should not be tied to employment. Anyway, there was a response that I liked, especially responding to Pete Buttigieg's comments on Twitter, and that was by Sarah Nelson, who is the president of the Association of Flight Attendants. That's a union, and it's a union that is supporting Bernie Sanders. And
he has, out of the presidential candidates, or the top ones, he has the support from the most unions. I think it's like at 29 now. He has support from 29. And he also receives the support from the largest teachers union in Nevada, right?
You don't say. You don't say.
You don't.
Wow, that is news. But anyway, her response to Pete Buttigieg, she said on Twitter, "This is offensive and dangerous. Stop perpetuating this gross myth. Not every union member has union health care plans that protect them. Those that do have it, have to fight like hell to keep it. If you believe in labor, then you'd understand an injury to one is an injury to all. For-profit healthcare doesn't work, Pete Buttigieg. It's killing people and putting working people in financial ruin. The whole country knows it. Collective bargaining is about problem solving. Don't use unions to promote division. That's only good for the profiteers." That is That is a great response. And she nailed it. She nailed the problem. And she nailed how dangerous and absurd Pete Buttigieg's words are. To act as if union healthcare is so solvent. It is so outstanding that it can't be pierced. You know, that everybody has access to union healthcare is ridiculous. And Pete Buttigieg knows that, but something else, I guess, is in his head or maybe in his pocket. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
They saw it as an opportunity to pile on who is the front runner. That's what this was all about. Because I think Warren was the first presidential candidate.
I believe so.
To quote tweet
the culinary
union, and then after that,
yep, they all saw the opportunity.
It just screams of desperation.
It does, and again, specifically Warren's campaign looks like it is desperate right now.
We're getting to see who Warren is. I think we are able to see or get a glimpse into who Warren actually is in this primary.
Yeah, and it started early.
During these primaries because, right, I guess we knew of Elizabeth Warren.
Of course, everybody did.
Yeah, everybody knew of Elizabeth Warren, mainly because of her work with the, Consumer Protection Bureau and all that. But we really did not know her.
Yeah.
We really did not know her, and we're getting a chance to see who she is based on how she's responding to her campaign just flailing right now. So.
And not just that. Again, we're seeing more of who she truly is, I believe, right now. But if we're being honest, it started very early on in the campaign, in her campaign, when she was asked about Medicare for All, and she wavered. She was like, hell, well, yeah, there's a lot of different good plans out there. You're a co-sponsor of Medicare for All, and you're not riding for it?
Not yet. A co-sponsor that was on the stage, like, cheering for it. So it just looks bad when the person who supposedly has a plan for everything is being very ambiguous about her support for what I would say is a premier issue in this primary.
No doubt. So, now, look, so we've talked a lot about Bernie Sanders, and I do want to get to one other clip before we get to possibly some good news for Bernie Sanders. Possibly, I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. But Senator Bernie Sanders had an interview on CNN with Anderson Cooper on Wednesday. In this interview, the subject of James Carville came up. James Carville has had many negative things to say about Bernie Sanders, and so here is Sanders responding to that.
James Carville, who's obviously a longtime Clinton loyalist, was supporting Senator Michael Bennet, who obviously dropped out of the primary race last night. He said this week that core Democratic voters aren't interested in being in what he said a cult. He said they're not interested in socialism and revolution and other things he called foolishness, and that, quote, I don't know how you win an election 78 years old screaming in a microphone about the revolution. I don't know if he was actually screaming at the time, although it's very possible, knowing James. But so I want to give you a chance to respond.
Look, James, in all due respect, is a political hack who said very terrible things when he was working for Clinton against Barack Obama. I think he said some of the same things. Look, we are taking on the establishment. This is no secret to anybody. We're taking on the wall. I guess the former head of Goldman Sachs attacked me yesterday.
Yeah, he had some
taking on Wall Street. He did, yeah, Wall Street. And the insurance companies don't like me. And you know what? The pharmaceutical industry, which is charging us 10 times more for the same drugs they sell in Canada, they don't like me either. Nor does the fossil fuel industry, because their product happens to be destroying our planet. Nor does the military-industrial complex or the prison-industrial complex. We are taking on Trump, the Republican establishment, Carville, and the Democratic establishment. But at the end of the day, the grassroots movement that we are putting together of young people, of working people, of people of color, want real change.
But you
and
know,
they want us to take.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you know, though,
No.
it's not all, just establishment folks who have a vested interest. I mean, there are, American citizens who, went out to vote in New Hampshire and voted for Klobuchar or voted for Buttigieg or in some cases Biden, who just feel like revolution is, it's just too much. They maybe like their plans. They don't want their insurance taken away for something else in government hands they don't have, any idea about.
Say with your chest, bro.
I was about to say, you know what? He said it with his chest calmly, and I was actually quite surprised. And quite honest,
He led with that.
He led with that, and
He's a political hack.
He looked tired. He looked tired of the mess, and Bernie usually doesn't, characterize people like that,
No,
even
he
if he
doesn't.
disagrees with them.
Yeah.
And he led off with that.
Yeah. I like it.
I do like it too. I'm honestly, I don't think Bernie Sanders has completely gotten away from this kind of treating people with kid gloves sometimes.
The civility.
The civility. I wish he would get away from
I
that
wish
because
he
guess what? It actually doesn't matter.
No.
It
'Cause
serves
they're
no
gonna be as nasty as they
consequence
wanna
because
be.
they're going to be as nasty as they want to be no matter how he is. James Carville said the same thing about Obama. The exact same thing.
And that's what Bernie Sanders said
Said
as
the
well.
same things about Obama. Like, it's like they are trying to characterize some of these concepts as ridiculous and extreme. Revolution. He's making it seem like revolution is some sort of extreme concept when it just means to overturn something, overturn the system so we can make it better for more people. That's all Bernie Sanders is talking about. It's really not. It's
But
not
they're
that
being
extreme.
purposely disingenuous, and they're drawing too much attention to the actual word revolution. Oh, well, people may not want a revolution.
Because it's actually fear mongering. Because what people think when they hear the word revolution.
Right.
They're thinking people like running through the streets,
Right. Armed
armed or
Right.
something.
Right. Taking over the government. That's not what Bernie Sanders is talking about. And look, I don't think that 1 + 1 = 2. Like, if these industries don't like a candidate, I don't think that automatically means that candidate is good and that candidate is actually speaking to the best interest of people, actually trying to represent them in the right way. I don't think it goes like that. I don't think that's a simple equation. But I will say that given Bernie's rhetoric, given his past, given his platform and what he advocates for, the reality that these industries do not like Bernie Sanders makes sense. He is trying to actually reform things, and reform things looks like taking care of people, actually raising the standard of living. So I don't think these industries that are definitely interested in themselves, in the bottom line, they're letting their greed kind of pave the way. I don't think they would be interested in a Bernie Sanders presidency, of course. I mean, it wouldn't even make sense. And just on another small note, the last portion of that video clip with Anderson Cooper, I didn't like his retort to Bernie Sanders, because as Bernie Sanders is talking about, well, they don't like me and there's a reason why they don't like me, Anderson Cooper starts saying that, well, it's not all establishment people, I mean, there are other people that don't want to vote for you, and it's not like they're working for the establishment. It's not like they are embedded into this, this system, and they're not like people like Joe Biden or stuff like that. But it's like Anderson Cooper is expecting Bernie Sanders to get like 100% support. He's not going to. Nobody's going to get 100% support. What Bernie Sanders needs is a majority of support. There are always going to be people that don't sign on to what you are trying to do for whatever reason. Does that mean that it's the right way to go because there's opposition to you? Because there's opposition means what? I don't get it. I don't get what his point was.
He didn't have a point. Doesn't
People
make any
aren't.
sense.
It's not just people that are in the establishment that are against you. It's just regular people.
But I think
Okay.
he would have done himself a solid if he gave like some examples, right?
Yeah.
Specifics. Like what groups of people.
And what does
do
that
not-
mean, though? What does that mean?
What groups of people do Bernie Sanders not appeal to, and why? I don't know why he. I think he wasn't expecting maybe Bernie Sanders to give that answer. He didn't really have a retort. Maybe that's it.
Maybe not.
But yeah, I am glad that Anderson Cooper did mention that James Carville was a Clintonite, though.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he mentioned that.
I'm glad. Yeah.
But yeah, James Carville has a good little grift going on, though, and he understands class interests. He's against Bernie for class interests. Him and his wife live very lavishly.
Lavishly, you say.
I say lavishly,
lavishly.
and I don't use that word often. You know what I'm saying? So this is an individual who understands class warfare very well. If you ever get a chance to look up James Carville house in Virginia, look it up. Look it up.
So that's wealth.
Yeah, that's wealth. That's not rich. When I first saw his house, I was like, that's not his house. That's a bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
I was like,
You can't say that's living good.
yeah, that's not living good. If you look on the inside of that thing, man, that's like, it's not only is it lavish, it's plush. I never use those words. I never use those words. I don't, because I just don't.
Why would you, right?
Yeah, why would I? But when I saw the inside of his house, I was like, oh, so, and it kind of like contrasts the way he dresses when he appears on, whether it be CNN or MSNBC, and that's very strategic.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say deceptive, but it is strategic
So
as well.
he tones it down a little bit.
He more than tones it down. If you go look at James Carville, for the most part, when he makes appearances in the media, what is he wearing? He's wearing some like polo shirt that you would see some regular guy wear, and not a nice polo. It's kind of like, you know, there's like stages
there's
of
levels
polos.
to it, yeah.
There's levels to it.
Right.
He wears like the poor man's polo. He wears that first level. He's not wearing like Ralph Lauren or Tommy Hilfiger. He's wearing the Izod. You know what I'm saying? He's wearing an Izod. You know what I'm saying? He's wearing an Izod button up. And he's usually wearing some hat that has like some tears in it. So you see what I'm saying? Like he purposely does that, so it makes himself look like he's appealing to
every man.
The everyman. The everyman grip. But this cat is living lavishly. Google that shit. It's like a compound, and like I said, it looks like a bed and breakfast.
All right, so like I said, we do have some news to report. That may be some good news for Bernie Sanders, possibly. Maybe he's tumbling all the way to first place. I don't know. We'll just see. But there was one positive thing that came out of the New Hampshire primary. You know, I mean, of course, again, you're seeing all these reports about how Bernie Sanders lost so much support from 2016 when he dominated that race. He lost thousands of support and all this. This one graph shows that he actually did very well. I mean, you see, number of candidates defeated in the New Hampshire primary. He only beat one in 2016, but look at all the candidates he beat in 2020. That's got to be progress, right? He only beat one in 2016.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
So if you, if you put me in the octagon with one fighter,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I tune him up.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
it's good.
That's good, right?
Uh-huh.
But if you put me in the octagon with like 5 or 6,
And you beat him.
and I beat him,
It's better.
I think that's better.
It's got to be better. It's got to be better. All right, for some real results. Okay, so this is per the Morning Consult. Recent polling data suggests that Bernie Sanders is making some moves. So this is among black voters nationally. You see Joe Biden at the top with 35%, and who's right up under him? Bernie Sanders at 27%.
And that Biden number, that number doesn't look secure as it used to look.
It doesn't.
It doesn't look as secure as it used to look.
No, he has been taken. Again, if you go through a number of the different state polls, you will see Joe Biden the line from the different months that we've gone through, you will see it start doing like this. But then recently, you will see a big dive. So it's not going well for Joe Biden right now. All right, another poll here, or some more data. So this is among Hispanic voters. At the top, Bernie Sanders, 38% support. Joe Biden, measly 17%. That's not good. Michael Bloomberg at 18%, number 3. Let's go to Asian American voters. Bernie Sanders again at the top, 24%. Bloomberg is in the number 2 slot, 17%. Joe Biden is under him with 15%. Going to voters of other races. Bernie Sanders, 42%. Now I would call that dominating the field right now.
Man, I wish Bernie Sanders had more diverse support.
Yeah, I wish he had more of a diverse coalition.
Yeah, I mean,
it
doesn't look like it.
It he's tumbling. He's tumbling. If we want to be honest, he's just tumbling all the way up.
So, because right there, that it just showed that he has support from Hispanic white people, black white people,
Asian white people,
and Asian white people,
and other race white people,
Yeah. That's what we just showed.
That's what that showed. Yeah. You know that I didn't draw any attention to Buttigieg, Warren, or Klobuchar because they were
towards the bottom, at the bottom.
Down at the bottom.
It is going to be interesting these next few weeks.
It's going to be interesting.
You had a prediction about one. I didn't even finish, man.
Yeah.
You had a prediction about one particular candidate.
I did.
And where they'd be after Super Tuesday.
I did.
Or what would happen to them. Or what they would do. Or what would happen in their campaign. Where would they end up? Where would they be?
Right, I did, yeah. I believe I shared it on this program before. I believe. I'm not sure. But Elizabeth Warren. I did predict. I mean, this was several weeks ago now. Man, because we haven't. I mean, we really.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because we kind of about a month, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been sick. Yeah, I'm still sick.
We're gone about a month.
Yeah, but it's been several weeks now, probably a couple months at least, where I first, I guess, this revelation hit me or so. But I was thinking that it's possible that Elizabeth Warren doesn't even get to Super Tuesday, and if she does, it's very likely that's as far as her campaign goes. Because as I was seeing things, I didn't see how Elizabeth Warren was going to surpass Bernie Sanders in any of the states. The only state that I could see that she was maybe going to surpass him in was her home state of Massachusetts. Yeah. And that's even looking like it's possible that she won't. So if she can't, because again, she's not, the support she would have to pull from, that it would have to be mandatory for you to pull from if you're Elizabeth Warren, is Bernie Sanders. And it doesn't appear that she's able to do that. It doesn't appear that she's going to be able to do that. And now with her money problems, that's just another wrench that's being tossed in there, and it's going to screw up her chances.
It does seem like she is someone who knows her days are numbered.
Yes, it does.
And I think a good sign of that, or one good sign, is that memo that was released by her campaign manager.
Yeah.
Because she went on this, this tear. She went on a tear for Buttigieg, Biden, and Sanders.
Yep.
Those are the three.
Klobuchar
too.
Yeah.
But she was more positive.
More positive.
A little bit more positive. It was a little bit more positive than Klobuchar.
I get it.
I think you don't do that if you feel positive about your campaign. You can draw contrast. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with drawing contrast between yourself.
You got problems. You got problems. You got problems.
And you
got
suck.
problems.
And you suck.
But me, I'm looking good here.
But see, it doesn't make any sense. You're not looking good.
Yeah, I know.
The memo doesn't make sense based on how things have been playing out.
Yeah.
Because based on the memo, I would have thought that it's Warren who's been performing well.
That is true. That's true.
I think she knows her time is limited.
It
And
appears
I do think, and I think that's why she's been kind of boosting Klobuchar a little bit, because she knows that is like the last hope to get a woman in.
let her get up out this race and then endorse Klobuchar.
What? What do you mean? Let her? You make it sound like that's like unforeseeable. You said
It would be unforeseeable given the distance or the perceived distance between their outlooks. Because it's not just that Klobuchar has been on the opposition or been opposed to Bernie Sanders. No, on the debate stage, she has been opposed to Elizabeth Warren as well.
There's something bigger at work here, though.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying
Okay,
you're
I
wrong.
feel you.
I'm just saying that, people are already calling Elizabeth Warren a snake,
So a snake is a snake.
Yeah.
So a snake is always a snake. Yeah. So if you think she's just kind of trying to take everybody down with her, it doesn't matter, so nobody matters, she's going to have to endorse somebody.
Yeah.
You feel me? She's going to have to endorse somebody. It's not going to be Biden.
No, it's not gonna be Biden.
Is it going to be Buttigieg?
I couldn't imagine. No.
So it has to be Klobuchar.
It would either
It would have to be.
Bernie or Klobuchar.
I just don't. It would not be good for Elizabeth Warren's political career for her to drop out and not endorse the front runner. And if that front runner is Bernie, then you know what I'm saying? She would have to endorse Bernie.
Well, it wouldn't be good for her political career to abandon her supposed progressive outlook either.
Yeah, because we saw her lose.
That would be
we saw her.
betraying her
We
beliefs.
saw her lose support when she
Yes,
did that.
yeah.
When she started backpedaling on Medicare for All, that's when her campaign started on the downward slope.
It would be different maybe if Kamala Harris was in the race and she was actually competing well. It would be different because even though we disagree that Kamala Harris is a progressive, at least she she tries to act like she's one. And often she succeeds. If you're just looking superficially, often she succeeds at looking like a progressive. So if she was in the race, Elizabeth Warren drops out, yeah, I can see her giving her support. But being that Klobuchar is nowhere near a progressive, nor does she even try to be one, if Elizabeth Warren drops out, endorses her.
Well, I think it's like, I don't think, the way I'm seeing it, nothing is out of the question. Because when Bernie Sanders lost, he endorsed Hillary Clinton.
Well, there was only one other person.
I know. It was only one other person, and it was Trump we were going against.
Yeah.
And think about what would happen with Bernie if he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because people already, Clintonites and Resistance Twitter is already rewriting history.
Exactly.
About him supporting or him not supporting Hillary Clinton's run to the White House, or attempted run to the White House.
But
So,
that would
like,
be
we're-
at the end. That would be at the end of this whole primary season. I'm talking about before that.
Okay, it's going to come down to one or two people.
Only two. It would be Bernie or Klobuchar. And again, Klobuchar, that would be nuts. That would be.
Like I said, Stranger Things. Look,
Look, Elizabeth Warren may be comfortable making that decision, but I'm telling you, her supporters that believe that she's the most progressive in the race and her plans are the most detailed and the way to move us forward.
Have you talked? Have you interacted with Elizabeth Warren supporters
About Klobuchar?
I don't think it matters. I think the thing is, once your person loses, I do think you start to kind of recalibrate, and
You can't recalibrate that damn much, man. Not to where you're going all the way center.
Time out, Will. We have been witnessing over the last week or two people actually floating Bloomberg. Now, we don't know whether those people are being paid by Bloomberg. They possibly could. But we've seen people float that Bloomberg is a better option than Bernie. Some of these people are considered liberals or part of the resistance. Or if you've been watching MSNBC, Joy-Ann Reid has been saying that too. That she's been hearing from black people, black voters that
And we'll get to Bloomberg in just a few minutes. But
so I'm like people recalibrate once certain circumstances take place. So it's
she ain't got Bloomberg money. She ain't got Bloomberg money.
True, but I'm not talking about the Warren herself. See, now we're talking about supporters.
I'm talking about Klobuchar.
Okay, my bad. Yeah. Okay. See, she don't have Bloomberg money.
No.
Obviously, but still though, like people recalibrate when their person loses. Most people recalibrate and they tend to readjust their outlook. They tend to do that.
I don't know.
They tend to do that when
I agree.
All bets are off, especially with people who just you know that. Tell me,
I agree.
you know
it
was strong, especially with like resistance Twitter. Like Warren is the one. Warren is the one. We need a woman in the White House. But their second choice is always Klobuchar. With those people,
I agree. There's going to be some segment if this actually occurs where she actually gives her support to Klobuchar. Of course, there'll be some segment of her base, of some segment of her support that will say, yeah, you know, Klobuchar's. If that's not by the end, if that's before the end, I can't imagine that there will not be a large percentage. I don't know if it's going to be most or not, but I would have to imagine that there's going to be a large percentage of her base, of her support that will not follow to Klobuchar. Because you can't just make this fit here. You can't say we want Medicare for all and then be like Klobuchar, who just completely smashes it.
Well,
I'm saying,
hasn't Warren kind of done that too?
But not to them. Not to them. They still believe that.
That's right. That's right. They still believe in her plan. Her, what is it, 10-year phase in?
Yeah, I don't know, something like that. But anyway, that's just all speculation. We'll see. But there's one more, one more graphic of data from the morning consult that we want to go over, and that is the overall national poll of support. And it shows you that Bernie Sanders has increased his support overall, and now he has a double-digit lead on Joe Biden nationally. 29% support to Joe Biden's 19%. Bloomberg in third place with 18. Pete Buttigieg at 11. Elizabeth Warren in fifth place with 10. And you can see at the bottom is Klobuchar with 5%. So not only does Bernie Sanders stay in first place, but he gains on everybody.
So Bernie Sanders' campaign doesn't seem to be losing any steam. It doesn't appear that it has a ceiling.
We keep hearing about this.
We keep hearing about the ceiling. And most recently from Elizabeth Warren's campaign manager.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, like, why would I expect Elizabeth Warren's campaign manager, somebody who's going up against Bernie Sanders, to be objective about Bernie's potential?
True.
Like, why would I expect him to be objective?
True.
And the mug keeps raking in donations. And it's like, I was watching, I forgot, was it MSNBC? Yes, I think it was MSNBC. They were doing like a little, it wasn't a town hall, I don't know where they were at. Could have been a town hall, but I don't know where they're at. It felt like some sort of local place, and they were just asking potential voters questions about who they were going to vote for, first, second choice, whatever, who they're looking at. And this woman.
Oh, that was MSNBC.
It was MSNBC. Do you remember where they were at? Can't remember
I don't. But no, it was New Hampshire. It was in New Hampshire.
But like, was it like in like a business or something?
It was like a restaurant
or something. I believe. And what did the woman say? When the woman said, like, "Hey, I just been looking at all these candidates, objectively." She wasn't a Bernie bro either, because Bernie wasn't even her first choice.
Nope.
And if you look at who she was considering, it just seemed very superficial anyway. But that's beside the point. She just didn't like the way MSNBC was treating Bernie Sanders.
The way she said that MSNBC was being so cynical about Bernie Sanders.
And it's like, so she was leaning towards him.
And she ended up voting for him.
And I don't think that was the sole reason. I do think that what it did was prompt her to look closer into Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. But we see that.
Because he's like, so I was like, she's probably thinking like, why are they,
Yeah.
talking like this about him?
So we see that this negative coverage that, multiple corporate media outlets have been given, targeting Bernie Sanders.
What do you
and
call it?
attacking him.
What do you call it?
What?
What do you call it?
What?
What do you call this coordinated effort? What do you call it? You could.
What are you talking about? I don't know. It's not hitting me right now. What are you talking about?
Basketball reference.
Oh yeah, the full court press.
Yeah.
The full court press. Yeah. No doubt. This is definitely the full. But he hasn't been vetted yet. Hasn't been vetted yet. So this full court press is gonna turn into.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're
else.
they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They're scrambling because, like, there's not really an attack that sticks.
No, it doesn't. And they try to do that on the debate stage as well, and it never sticks. So.
It doesn't do anything to his campaign but make it stronger. It's like he has that, what's that Black Panther suit?
No. Let's.
What's that? He has, you know what I'm saying? He has that black.
know.
He has
No.
that Black Panther suit.
No.
Because when something hits it,
I get you, but there's maybe there's a better type of
Analogy?
Yeah,
There's a better
You remember
analogy?
in 2016 we said Teflon
Teflon
Hillary.
Hillary.
Teflon Hillary.
oh, so it was like, oh, so Hillary Clinton is no longer here.
No longer here. Somebody gotta be Teflon. Somebody.
But it's the wrong person though.
It
for
is.
the corporate media, it's the wrong person.
Wrong person. Oops. Oops.
Yeah, they're probably trying to just search within their grab bag of propaganda.
Oh yeah.
Of like, what can we do
It's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse. Oh, it's definitely gonna get worse.
It's gonna get worse,
Yeah.
and like I wasn't on Twitter a lot last year, or actually previous to last year, like before last year, like all 2018, never on Twitter. Get on Twitter. I just start following people if they say something that makes sense, and I end up following a lot of people that are part of the resistance, a lot of Clintonites. Well, according to them, and this is very coordinated, this is very common amongst them, is that Bernie Sanders is a Russian favorite.
Yeah. No,
He's the Russian agent.
of course he is. Whatever they say is valid. It's yeah.
That's what they're all. That's what most of them Clintonites. A lot of them are Warren supporters too. But that's what the resistance is saying, that Bernie Sanders is a friend to Russia and he's the favorite because of Putin in Russia. Not because of social
evidence.
change.
No evidence of anything.
No.
Just,
Wait.
just throw it out there.
He took
A vacation.
honeymoon.
Vacation. Oh, that's evidence.
And he bashed the U.S. That's enough.
Yeah, that's it. All right, let's briefly get to Mike Bloomberg. As we've been showing you, Mike Bloomberg has been rising in the polls. He is not going to be competing in these first four states, these first four primaries and caucuses. So Nevada and South Carolina, not in the cards for him. But he is still campaigning, and he is still spending millions and millions of dollars. Last time we checked, it was over $350 million Mike Bloomberg has spent on his candidacy, on his campaign. So he's doing a lot of big things. Recently, he received some endorsements from 3 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. This was just yesterday, on Wednesday. So those members were a delegate, Stacey Plaskett, who's from the Virgin Islands, Representative Gregory Meeks, Democrat from New York, of course, and also a freshman Congresswoman from Georgia, Lucy McBath.
Yeah.
So he got all these 3 endorsements on Wednesday. Now, I guess the part that's puzzling, the part that draws some type of intrigue, is that these are 3 black people that have elected positions. But this is also right in the face or right amidst all of this controversy surrounding Mike Bloomberg because of that publicized audio That was publicized by Ben Dixon just a few days ago. And in that audio, Mike Bloomberg could be heard, and this was in 2015. He was speaking to the Aspen Institute, and he could be heard talking about how murder suspects, 95% of them, there's one profile, and it's minorities. I think what he said, 16 to 25. And he said that you could just Xerox that and just give it to every single, I guess, police precinct in the country. It doesn't matter what city it is. This is the people that are doing all of the crimes, all of the murders.
And he even said that like white people were being targeted too much.
That was another clip.
He even
He
used the word disproportionate. And I don't think he understands what the word disproportionate means.
Yeah.
Didn't he want to force individuals who are living in public housing to get fingerprinted?
Yes, to prove
that they were supposed to be there.
Right.
And I'm just like, that's like prison.
Right.
Like you're essentially already treating them like criminals.
Yeah. So again, this is amidst all of this controversy, all of this. The hashtag Bloomberg is racist, all of this. This is amidst all of that. And these three members of the Congressional Black Caucus have just endorsed it.
I think maybe you should remind people who Macbeth is.
Macbeth is, again, she's a freshman congresswoman. Macbeth is the mother of a certain...
Jordan Davis?
Jordan Davis. It happened in Florida years ago. This was the shooting at a gas station, I believe, or a convenience store, where I can't remember the name of the assailant.
Michael Dunn.
Michael Dunn. Okay. He shot into the vehicle that Jordan Davis was in because he didn't like the loud music.
Not because Jordan Davis and his friends were being aggressive.
No.
Not because Michael Dunn didn't feel threatened.
No. He claimed to.
He claimed
to see something, or no, that never happened. But yeah, he shot into the vehicle.
He saw a gun or something.
Yeah, he shot into the vehicle. He ended up killing Jordan Davis.
So it is kind of puzzling why this person would support Bloomberg.
Yeah, because given his feelings about race and specifically about black and brown people, it is puzzling that this particular individual that's new to Congress, the mother of Jordan Davis, would be supportive of his candidacy.
Yeah, Bloomberg's attitude and approach to crime and criminality is rooted in the same racism that led Michael Dunn to kill her son.
I would agree.
I'm not going to accuse her of selling out monetarily, but you have to wonder.
Yeah.
You have to wonder.
Well, this is her tweet on Twitter. It said, Mike Bloomberg is the kind of fighter we need in the White House. He's given mothers like me a way to fight back against gun violence. I'm proud to stand with him in this race. He will win this election and work with Congress to pass common sense gun safety laws. Hashtag get it done.
I understand her son was killed with a firearm, but his death had more to do with racism.
Yeah. And Mike Bloomberg is not the only candidate in this race that wants to do something about gun violence.
Yeah, so something's up. Something's amiss here.
Yeah, something else would have to be the precursor to support.
And she is a very popular representative.
Yeah.
And if you go to that post and go down to the comment section and replies,
not a lot of support.
Not a lot. I actually didn't see any.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
There could be some there. I went through at least 100, the first 150 comments. And
people are not responding well.
And it was and people were responding very respectfully. They were like, "This ain't it, sis."
Yeah.
Or they were
you
like,
lost me here.
Yeah, you lost me here. I was like, we love you, and we know we support you. We support you all this time, but this is not it. What are you doing? Exactly. You see comments like this. You didn't see anything disparaging because we all know what she went through.
Yeah. But it just seems like there's something else. It can't just be the issue that she's talking about, gun violence. It can't be that because, again, there are other candidates that actually want to do something about that. It has to be something else. So we don't know what that something else is. We can just speculate, and not gonna do that. But still, it doesn't look like it's proper.
Whether she got something personally, maybe not. But Michael Bloomberg is known for his philanthropy and throwing money around.
He's flush with cash.
He's flush with cash.
Yeah.
So people make deals with the devil all the time.
All the time. And that could be exactly what's going on here. There's another individual that has endorsed Mike Bloomberg as well. And this one is close to home for us. This is the mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, Steve Benjamin. He has endorsed Mike Bloomberg.
Your mayor.
All right.
Your mayor.
But anyway, Mayor Benjamin has endorsed Mike Bloomberg, and he showed up for an interview on MSNBC, and these were some of his comments.
I had the opportunity to be with Mayor Bloomberg late last year when we were at CCC Church, and he made the formal apology for stop and frisk. The stops did drop dramatically before he left office, and obviously I will say this, the practices of systemic bias in policing didn't start with Mike Bloomberg or in New York City or with stop and frisk, and they didn't end there. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in America to deal with this issue. Mike Bloomberg made a mistake. And he's owned up to that mistake. And as we move forward, we've got to make sure we build a good, strong public safety system based on people being public guardians, making sure that the promise of America is real for all of us. I will say this, that the challenge of gun violence in America, and there are thoughtful, aggressive ways to deal with it, stop and frisk was never the answer. It was an issue, as I told you when we saw each other in Philadelphia, when I first decided I was going to join the Bloomberg campaign, and the mayor indicated to me he made a mistake and he was going to apologize for it, and we've moved forward since then. That's the past. We're looking forward to the future.
So I have a few problems with what Mayor Benjamin stated there. Few problems. He told a few lies there, namely about how you know what? It's something that politicians do, where it's not like they're lying, but they are trying to sell you misinformation, So he said that the stop and frisk decreased dramatically upon him exiting office as the mayor of New York City. And it did decrease dramatically. I guess you could say it decreased dramatically, but it also rose dramatically under his watch. So he became the mayor in 2002 of New York City. He succeeded Mayor Giuliani. And in 2002, the stop and frisk stats, about 97,000 stop and frisk. In 2003, 160,000, almost 161,000. 2004, over 313,000. 2005, 352,000. At the height of it, because actually in 2006, it went up to 506,000. And so it kind of covered around there for a while. I mean, 2007, 2008, 2009, 581,000, 2010, 601,000. And then 2011, it hit the peak of it, 685,724 stop and frisk. The next year, 2012, 532,000, almost 533,000. And then 2013, it dropped down significantly. I guess you could say dramatically. 191,000. It dropped off.
So it dropped off after.
Yes, it significantly increased. So Steve Benjamin is ignoring that for some reason. He's not communicating that Mayor Bloomberg was responsible, and it was under his watch that the stop and frisk rose dramatically. But he does want to give him credit for making it decrease dramatically, which is that's misinformation at its best. That is not informing people of the actual truth. That's being very deceitful.
There were some comments Mayor Benjamin made, I think, late last year when talking about Michael Bloomberg and his impact on the Democratic Party. I'm looking for it now. let's see. But it talked about, he mentioned how Mayor Bloomberg's philanthropy has helped a lot of cities. And I just don't think that money itself is going to save anybody. Money is not going to save people. Money is definitely not going to save people, especially money coming from somebody with the history of Bloomberg. Somebody who doesn't want the minimum wage to go up. Someone who wants to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Someone who essentially terrorized the black community while he was mayor in a various amount of ways, and not just in regard to policing, but in regard to redlining as well. So, like, I just don't understand how people can legitimately look at this guy and think he is going to improve the lives of citizens.
I think people are being blinded by the money and being blinded by the polling now because of what the money has done. I did want to make a very big distinction here with Mike Bloomberg. First of all, we have to realize that he lied, okay? Because in his apology said that under his watch it decreased. He did things to make it decrease, which is a lie, because under his watch he did everything to make it increase. The stop and frisk stats increased purposefully under his watch. So he lied about that. Another thing is that he is another case of political expediency, because just as late as 2019, just last year in January, he was defending the use of stop and frisk. Now, fast forward months later, when he decides to launch his campaign for president, then he decides to apologize for it. So I don't think that apology is worth anything whatsoever. I believe it's just to make it seem as though he is sorry, and that he is actually going to advocate for people of color, when I don't believe he is. But again, the distinction that I wanted to make is that with Mike Bloomberg, you hear things like, Steve Benjamin, he's saying positive things about him. He's saying that, yes, he made a mistake. He made a mistake. He owned up to that mistake. Now, the distinction I want to make is that he didn't own up to it. Now, he said what he said, and that audio was released. He said that you could just Xerox this profile of who is committing the crimes and just hand that out to precincts around the country. That's who are committing the crimes. These are people of color. Males 16 to 25, I believe, of color. That's who's committing these crimes. Now, he apologized for it. He owned up to his mistake, is what Mayor Benjamin is saying. I don't think you can own up to that mistake. I don't think you can do anything to actually significantly apologize for that. Because the way he described his true beliefs, that's a deeply held belief. That's not like running over somebody or mistakenly hitting somebody or actually purposefully hitting somebody and then apologize and be like, I was out of my mind. I didn't do the right thing. I let my emotions get the best of me. I'm sorry for that. That's not going to happen again. It's not something as just trivial as that. He has deeply held negative and racist feelings about people of color, and that has, I don't know if you can say plagued him, but you have seen that throughout his career. So how can we believe that he's actually going to be any different when he has only recently changed his opinion about what he did while he was the mayor of New York City? Do we really believe he has changed who he is inside? Or is he just projecting something new so that he can get votes?
If you fuck up, maybe in regard to a friend of yours, your girlfriend or your wife, whatever it is, somebody close to you, your mother, your father, you fuck up, right? You do something that could potentially or that does hurt the relationship. How do you make amends for that? Isn't there things that you do?
Well, yeah, you can't just say that you're sorry. You got to show it.
You got to show it. And in this case, this is much bigger than that because he affected an entire community, right?
Over many years.
Over
as
many
well.
years.
One just one time.
Yeah,
It wasn't just one incident.
So that's not like, for Benjamin to describe what Bloomberg did as just a mistake, that's minimizing it right there.
Yeah.
He just made a mistake, like he just stepped in it. Like when you make a mistake, that means you didn't mean to do it, right?
This is really like he made a choice.
He made a choice.
Over and over again.
So it doesn't even look like Steve Benjamin is being honest about that part, that Michael Bloomberg made these choices.
Right.
Because if you actually are honest about why Bloomberg made these choices, you would have to accept the fact that he's a racist.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would.
And if you're going to make amends for something, right, you don't wait until you're about to run for president. You don't make apologies before you're about to run for president, because how does that look? Like if you have a rocky relationship with somebody and you really want to make amends with them, you don't try to make up with them before you ask them for a big ass favor. Because that's what he's doing. Bloomberg is asking black people for a big ass favor, his vote. That's what he's doing.
A big ass favor.
He wants something from black people.
Well, he's putting his money where his mouth is. He is doing that.
And like I said, like the timing of it all too. Like, why'd you do it like right before you announced you're running for president? It doesn't seem genuine.
Exactly.
And again, if you were going to make amends for something like what Bloomberg did as mayor, why not put your money into like campaigns, like DA campaigns, like DAs that want criminal justice reform, that speak out against police brutality, stop and frisk, broken windows policing, all of that stuff.
So if he's real,
If
you're
he's
saying
real-
that there's steps that he could take to
If he's actually real about it, he would do more than just apologize. He'd invest some of his money in criminal justice reform to kind of try to at least, because you can't reverse anything he did.
No, you can't.
But at least try to kind of at least try to like reverse what he did.
Try to make
outcomes
better. Try to do some good. You know? To do something.
It's really hard for me to even like try to figure out.
Try to repair damage.
Yeah, like I don't like some sort of like reparative justice in some kind of way, but we don't see that. We don't see any kind of.
All we see.
We don't
is
see
an apology.
Michael Bloomberg going out of his way to seek reparative justice.
No.
We don't-
Again, all we see is an apology and disingenuous comments, misleading comments like, "Well, it decreased under my watch." Bitch, it actually increased under your watch. What are you talking about? You don't let us into that though. You don't want that to be the story. You want the story to be what happened towards the end of your reign as mayor of New York City. I've made the comparison to the other billionaire that's in this race on the Democratic side, Tom Steyer. Tom Steyer comes from, you could say, questionable background or a controversial background. I believe he was, in hedge funds, and the hedge fund I believe he was a part of made some investments in the fossil fuel industry and, things like that. Things that Tom Steyer, the person today in 2020, is not comfortable with. So he left that past, but he didn't leave that past last year. He left that past, I believe, a decade or more ago. And then after that, he started taking steps to actually do some good. He created the Next Gen America, I believe that's what it's called, environmental advocacy organization. So he actually did things, and especially on climate change, that's his, I guess that you could call that his baby. That's in his wheelhouse. He really wants that to be the forefront of his candidacy. And he talks about that routinely. So again, he's been making moves, positive moves. He's been taking steps to actually, atone, just to be a better human being. Now you can say that you question his motivation. You can say that you don't believe him. That's not really the point here. The point is that he didn't just come into this race with a new outlook or like a new narrative. Oh, well, I'm different now. I stopped that hedge fund like 2 days ago and now I'm running for president. No, he didn't do that. It started well before he started running for president, but with Mike Bloomberg, in the same year that he, in the same year that he announces his candidacy, he also supported the use of stop and frisk. And you're telling me that his apology is meaningful and it's genuine? No. Again, when you hold those deeply held beliefs, those racist feelings, those very bigoted feelings about people of color, and have used a policy that was meant to torment these people and destroy their lives, to instill fear into them, destroy communities. That's what you did as the New York City mayor. And then months later, after not apologizing for it, but actually supporting it and defending the practice, months later you say, well, you know what? It was wrong. And I know it was wrong. And I'm sorry. That's not good enough. Mike Bloomberg, I believe, is still a racist, and he's only using his money to get ahead right now. He is buying, or he is trying to buy the election. That is what is going on. But he is still racist.
Yeah, I found that quote. Mayor Steve Benjamin of Columbia, South Carolina, chairman of Bloomberg's campaign. Chairman
of the Bloomberg campaign.
Said Mr. Bloomberg's philanthropy had earned him trust and consideration from mayors. It's given him a great deal of credibility with people who, but for his philanthropy or altruism, he never would have interfaced with, Mr. Benjamin said. So Bloomberg's philanthropy has given him access. Mm-hmm. That's basically what Benjamin is saying. Giving him access that none of us would ever have. And so you have all these rich people, wealthy people, who kind of gain the trust of city leaders, and mayors, and city councilmen through philanthropy, right? Mm-hmm. And so they bankroll a lot of these city projects, and who do these city projects usually benefit, though?
Historically, it's been white people.
And wealthy people.
Wealthy people, but wealthy white people.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate that this is even allowable in our society, in our politics, that somebody could just use as much money as they can and just flood the airwaves, flood television screens, flood the internet with ads, and rise in the polls. We don't know if it's going to work. I'm hoping that it does not. I don't know if this increased support of Bloomberg among people that have already been elected to positions, somebody that has already has some status to them, I don't know if that's going to translate into their constituents actually signing on to the Bloomberg team. I'm not sure that that's going to happen.
We'll still hold off until people start casting them ballots. Mm-hmm. And I think you said you were going to hold off too.
I'm going to hold off, especially as it relates to
Black
South
people
Carolina.
And black people.
And black people.
Yeah.
And now we have Steve Benjamin actually
the mayor
entering the fray and speaking up for Bloomberg. I'm going to have something to say if it goes a certain way. But right now it's too early.
Yeah, right now it's too early. We don't want to preempt it. But yeah, if it goes the way Bloomberg wants it to go, and these endorsements actually have an effect on how people vote, yeah, we're gonna have to go in on.
That might be a whole show.
Yeah, that might be a whole show.
Yeah, because I'm definitely gonna have something to say. But anyway,
more speaking of black people, My mother brought it up.
Oh, this is.
She said, "Hell no."
You know what? You know what?
She said, "Hell no."
There's a question going around on social media. People are tossing this out. If Bloomberg becomes the Democratic nominee, which, I mean, look, I don't believe that it's going to happen, but right now you would have to say it's possible. I mean, anybody would have to say it's possible.
Especially with how much money he's putting into this campaign.
And willing to put more, millions of dollars more into the campaign. So it's definitely possible. Would you vote for Michael Bloomberg as the Democratic
Nope.
as the Democratic candidate,
Nope.
the Democratic nominee for president?
Nope. Nope. No.
I mean, that was quick.
Because there's no question about it.
That was quick.
Like, I didn't answer quick enough.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, like, Trump, I mean, he's no better than Trump. Like, all you get with Trump is more, like, it's more performative.
Yeah.
His racism is more performative.
True.
Bloomberg's racism is very monotone.
Yeah.
Very calm.
With
If you
Trump, you get open bullying.
With Trump, you get open
bullying.
bullying. With Trump, he's poking his chest out.
Mm-hmm.
He's pointing. He's like, "Get him out of here."
But who's more dangerous?
Exactly. And who's worse, considering that at least Bloomberg is an actual billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to make his money work. He's actually way smarter than Trump. No, hell no. I just can't do it. Like anybody who is saying that like Bloomberg would be, a good opponent against Trump is delusional.
Yeah.
Is delusional. Not because I don't think he could beat Trump. It's just that like I think he's worse than Trump. I mean, if you look at those the video of Mike Bloomberg talking, right, especially about stop and frisk, about redlining. About home loans,
white
about
people
home
not
loans.
being arrested, or white people being arrested too much.
Okay, now you compare the way Bloomberg was talking with the way Trump talks when it's the same subjects.
Yeah.
It just seems worse to people because Trump is just in your face with it, when Michael Bloomberg is just very calm with his.
Yeah. And
he's very laid back.
And trying to present a rationale to why his bigotry and racism is right.
A rationale that Trump is not even capable of expressing because he has brain worms. So,
look, I said a long time ago, that the eventual Democratic nominee, whoever that is, even if it was Joe Biden, I was probably going to vote for Joe Biden. I couldn't see not voting for Joe Biden. I couldn't see, voting third party at the point that I said it or anything like that. There's nobody I believe that's going to emerge as the third party candidate. I don't think so. I just did. And even if there was, I didn't see the purpose behind even doing that, going that route this go around. So even if it was Joe Biden, I was likely going to vote for Joe Biden against Donald Trump. So with Bloomberg, I'm going to have to vote for psych. Hell no. Hell no. I could not conceive of a reality in which I ever casted a ballot for Mike Bloomberg for any damn thing. Mike Bloomberg, as you said, if he's not worse than Donald Trump, I can't make a case that he's better. When you have these deeply held beliefs on race like he obviously does, I don't see where that would lead you to believe that he's actually going to make a positive impact on the people that he wants to discriminate against and that he has discriminated against. Why would he change that? He has billions of dollars. He has used billions of dollars to get and remain in power. You think this billionaire is just going to, with added power, he's going to be in the White House now, in the Oval Office, and this billionaire is just going to be like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to do right by black people and Latinx people and everybody. I hate these people, but I'm going to do right by them. I said I would.
CNN. This is I can't remember what year this came from, but this is from CNN. It says, in an interview with Wolf Blitzer, Donald Trump refused to endorse any candidate, but will eventually make a formal endorsement. Of Bloomberg, he says, I think he's a fantastic person. He's somebody that I know and respect. It's probably when he was running for mayor. Yeah, this is when he's running for mayor. I think he's a fantastic person. He's somebody that I know and respect. He's been a wonderful mayor of this city, and he's done a great job. And I think he'd be formidable, and he can spend the money that it takes to get elected. I think he'd be very formidable.
What year was this?
God, I can't remember what year it was.
These are peas in the same pod, man. These are two objectionable characters. These are two racist individuals. These are the scum of the earth type of people. There's no way that I could vote for Mike Bloomberg. I don't want to hear any type of, well, hey, man, the main goal is to beat Trump. You got to stop Trump. You got to beat Trump. But with what? It's like it doesn't matter what you replace Trump with. Are you serious? Now, again, I'm not in support of Joe Biden whatsoever. I wouldn't call him a racist. I wouldn't go so far as to call Joe Biden a racist. He has said some things that I think are hurtful, that are, definitely objectionable. And we've talked about those things before. His policies, I don't believe in. I believe that'll keep us right here, flat, not much progress whatsoever. So yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden and what he wants to do for the United States of America and beyond. I'd vote for him. Yeah, I'd vote for him because I think he would be a significant upgrade to Donald Trump. I think he would be a significant upgrade, and I do believe that Donald Trump is very, very dangerous. I do believe that. Michael Bloomberg is not the same whatsoever. Michael Bloomberg is not even what you would say a centrist Democrat is. I don't even think you could call him a conservative Democrat. This dude is a right-wing politician. Forget the party. He's a right-wing politician, and he's a racist one at that. Not voting for that.
I hear people say, like, well, he won't have to answer to anybody because he spends his own money. I'm just thinking, I've heard people say this. I was like, yeah, he spends his own money. That means he got to answer to nobody. And I'm just thinking,
oh, that's great.
I was like, you realize what you just said, right?
That's great.
Like, you realize what you just said.
Yeah.
I'm like, he don't got to answer to you either.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have to answer to you.
We've seen what he's done as the top executive before. He was the top executive of the city, and we've seen what he's done.
Yeah, exactly. Top executive of the city, and it's like, yeah, he may not have to like answer to anyone, but his money causes the people who represent you to answer to him.
Yep.
So you have an autocratic leader right there.
Yeah. Nah, bad news, man. Not with him. All right, we're about done. All right, on the last show, we said that we would chime in on the on Kobe Bryant. So I figure we
talk a little bit about it.
Talk a little bit about him, and then we'll sign off, and then next week we'll come back, and next week we'll probably start back with the
taking the calls.
Yeah. But Kobe Bryant, of course, I don't know if anybody could not have heard this news by now. But Kobe Bryant, the definitely legendary basketball player, died recently in a helicopter crash with 8 other people that were on board, including his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, Gigi. So, of course, there was, heightened focus on this, of course, because this is somebody that...
NBA legend.
NBA legend, NBA royalty, one of the most prolific basketball players, one of the most dynamic scorers, not just a scorer, but defensive players also in the game ever. A guy that many people believe is second to Jordan. And so and his stands believe that he's the best player ever. But he definitely modeled his game after Michael Jordan, and He came close. I would definitely say he came close to, you know, I guess overtaking him. I mean, he was a dynamic basketball player. I didn't like him as a player. He was on the Lakers. I hate the Lakers.
Yeah, he wasn't like I personally. Yeah, like, I wasn't a fan of Kobe. I respected his skill,
you gotta
his
respect
talent,
the
his
game.
tenacity,
Yes,
his work
yes.
ethic, whatever.
Yes.
Like,
Not a fan.
I
of the
wasn't
game,
a fan
though.
of hitting him in a game, and actually, I wasn't even really a fan of his personality either.
No.
I wasn't really attracted to his personality.
No.
Like, I just thought to me, he always came off as kind of like. Again, this is just me, like personally, like what I kind of got from him. He came off like he was trying too hard, like during interviews, like it just seemed like he was putting on. And
Well, he seemed very cocky. Very cocky.
Like just like how he this basically his facial expression. It just seemed like he was trying too hard to convey and project a certain image of himself.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I understand like him being a public figure. You know, he has media training. And so sometimes they could come off a little bit disingenuous because they know they're in front of a camera. So that could be part of it too. I'm just saying, like,
You didn't like what you see.
Like,
Well, you didn't like what
that
you
was just
saw.
like just me personally how I viewed him, but that has nothing to do with how I viewed him as a player. And as an
Yeah, I mean,
athlete.
there's no denying the talent that he had. There's no denying the impact that he had on the game. There's just no denying any of that. But again, many people had different feelings about his personality. But again, you know, he died. You know, he died at a young age, 41 years old. You know, he retired in 2016, and his last performance, his last game, was of epic proportions, scoring 60 points in his last game, which that might be the best, arguably, it has to be one of the best final performances of anybody ending their career.
Looking at his age,
60
and
points, I mean,
looking
it's crazy.
Looking at his age, and he had the injury too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a phenomenal performance, and he started out very rusty. I think 0 for 5 from the field, but whatever. Anyway, you know, he retired in 2016, and since then, you know, he won an Academy Award for a short film, like a short story, like a letter to basketball, something like that. There was like it was like a short story about him, like he giving his all to basketball. You know, he won an Academy Award for it.
Yeah, he also he had like concerns about how he would be able to play in the NBA, train as hard as he does, and be in the life of his daughter and his entire family. His daughter played basketball,
Right.
so he was just like, when he first had his daughter, he was like, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I want to be in my kid's life and my family's life, but I know how much work ethic I have.
Yeah.
I want to train and like 82 games,
True.
off-season endorsements. How are we going to do that? And the way that he reconciled that was living in L.A.
Oh, hold on. There you go.
Living in L.A., you know how bad the traffic is. It might take you an hour to go 1 mile. It just depends on what time of year and what time of day it is. So that's why he elected to
Start using
the helicopter.
And so he was famous for using the helicopter to the Lakers facilities and too closer to his home instead of getting on the 405.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
what
the
it is.
405. But it's very busy, highway. Maybe it's the 705. I'm not sure. But anyway, he would use the helicopter. And on this particular day, it was very foggy. And there was reports that police helicopters had, come out of the skies because it was, it wasn't very visible up there.
What is it called when they? Maybe somebody that's watching knows. What is that called? What do they issue?
I don't know.
They issue something when it's like, I forgot what it's called. It's like you're not going to be provided with certain assistance if you go out, or I forgot what that's called.
Well, yeah, he
Some
needed,
sort of warning.
because they were close to where they needed to land, and he needed assistance with just navigation, really, because of the poor visibility, and the pilot. One thing I learned about helicopters is that a lot of them don't have instruments that I guess help you like help you fly when visibility is poor. There's no instrument panel, and pilots aren't certified on instrument flying. So this pilot, he was certified to fly in poor conditions, but still the lack of the instrument flying and
then even helicopters, they don't have a black box.
No, it doesn't. But anyway, that's presumed to be the case. The helicopter, made a sudden rise to try to get above the clouds, but then it seemed as though it may have clipped, a mountain, something like that. But, it went down, and all 9 people on the helicopter died, including Kobe Bryant and his daughter. And there were 2 other young girls in the helicopter, 2 of Gigi's teammates, I believe, their parents, the helicopter, a coach as well. Very tragic, no doubt. But since then, of course, there's been a lot of discussion about Kobe Bryant, and a lot of that discussion has been happening in the media, but it's been happening on social media as well. And there has been this, like, how do we talk about Kobe Bryant? That's been the question. Like, how do we talk about Kobe Bryant? What is his legacy? And so there are many people bringing up the 2004, the rape case that was in Colorado while he was a player of the Los Angeles Lakers, where he was accused of raping a woman at a hotel that he was staying in. I believe this is when he was undergoing rehabilitation. And he was charged in that, in that matter. It ended up not going to trial. The woman said that she was not going to testify.
Her lawyers dropped the case when the information came out that she lied. There were a myriad of lies about the circumstances. So they ended up dropping the case. Yeah,
so they dropped the case. Now, Kobe Bryant, in his statement after the case was dropped, he did say that while he continues to see things as this was a consensual matter, he could now understand how the woman didn't see it in that way.
See, and I think,
and then later they reached a
settlement,
a private settlement.
I think that's the important part right there. He never said like, "Yeah, I admit it."
He didn't ever admit it.
Now, he said he read her statement, and again, he's just taking her statement at face value. And so he says, "I can understand, why she may not have thought it was consensual, but in the moment, whatever was going on between them, he thought it was consensual." Now, like, there was some, other side stuff involving her character that I don't think that matters. The whole thing about they tested her underwear and there were like, how many, like a multitude of different, the DNA in it. Okay, she could have been a hoe. Great. That's that. I don't think that really says anything to that specific case. But there were specific details that she actually admitted to lying about. So I don't think this particular case was just so it was open and shut. I think that's what people should understand, that this case is not really open and shut. Or that case wasn't really an open and shut case. It wasn't.
That's where a lot of the I guess the back and forth has been happening, especially on social media, because there are people that believe it is an open and shut case. There are people that do believe that Kobe Bryant raped a woman. And that is what they say. Kobe Bryant raped a woman. So that is part of his legacy. For many other people, it's not that absolute. And that's where I guess the disagreement comes in. That's where the button of the heads comes in, and that's where the anger goes to, and just like that. And like I said, this has been happening on social media, and in the media as well. But again, that's the question. Where does this, what is his legend? What is his legend?
Legacy.
What is his legacy?
Well, see, here's the problem I have. Like I've seen people issue their arguments about, hey, like when is a good time to talk about this? When is a good time to talk about it? I think like
That's a good question.
I guess like when you start to review someone's life, I do think like it's permissible to talk about it, but it doesn't matter how you talk about it. Like if you talk about it as an absolute, I do think that's a little deceptive. You see what I'm saying? Like it is a part of, I wouldn't say it's a part of his legacy, but it is a part of his story. And I do think that you do have to make distinctions, especially in the sports community. You know what I'm saying? When talking about his legacy. What I do hear a lot about, or a lot in regards to Kobe Bryant's death, is not just should we be able to talk about it. It seems more about like the people who are mourning his death, the people who are talking about his legacy as far as, being a role model, an athlete to so many people. It seems as if like people want that group to talk about it.
And they want them to feel bad about it.
Yeah, exactly. You need to talk about it. So to me, it didn't really, to me, I know this might make people mad, it didn't come off as genuine. When people wanted to like, hey, you have a victim here and she's probably seeing this in the news, what about her? I saw that. So, so we need to talk about this for her. And I'm like, nah, that's you. Like whatever you are projecting into the situation, maybe you are sympathetic to her, maybe because you are, you're sympathetic to her situation, whether you've been through it or not. You want to make light of it for her? I really don't think so. I really don't think that's the case. What it seems as if people want, they want people who are fans of Kobe to make light of it.
They want him to be re-accountable.
Yeah, exactly. I was like
what
that.
Happened in
And to me, it's like, and here's another issue I have, because I forgot that the woman, she got reprimanded. What was that woman from? I forgot her name because I really didn't really care about it. Apparently she. Yeah. Like we do have to recognize that a lot of people want clicks. That's one thing that we have to recognize is people want clicks, so they're going to go there. There's a few comedians that ended up having to pull like tweets because they wanted clicks based on his death. A lot of people were saying, well, this is karma and stuff like that. I was like, wait, multiple people died. So I was like, so karma had, in order for karma to take place, like all those people had to die? That didn't make any sense.
That's
you know what I'm
not
saying?
good.
So
if it was just him that died,
like
then maybe you could say that.
Like
but
so,
when
like
other people perish like that.
So
that's not a good
the
look.
people who are saying like, hey, we need to litigate this rape case. Okay, fine. But who? Like, how does that look? How? I asked a few people on social media, and I really didn't get an answer. I was like, okay, I'll float this. The ball's in your court. How do you want this to proceed? How do you want this to take place? Who do you want to relitigate this? Who do you want to make a part of his legacy again? Like, who do you want to bring this up and to make light of this as a part of his legacy? Who? You want Charles Barkley to do it on whatever that show is, NBA on TNT or whatever it is? You want Shaq to do it? You want Jason Williams to do it? You want Jalen Rose to do it? Scottie Pippen on his show? Whatever show it is, like who do you want to do it? Do you want them to, in the middle of the ceremony at the Staples Center, like, hey, y'all, you stand up, have a moment of silence, or tribute this and blah, blah, blah. Okay, now wait. Now, just remember he was accused of rape. Like, when do you want that to happen? Like, how does that play out? Like, it just seems like people are just mad that, no, you can't mourn his death because he was allegedly a rapist. Like, that's what it seems more like. Like, stop.
Yeah.
You can't, like, no. It's like, nah, it's more like, this needs to stop. That's how it came across. This person does not, need to be either mourned or, all these ceremonies for him is like, nah, like y'all need to acknowledge that. I was like, how does that actually play out? Like, how are they going to like go there in that moment?
Well,
I think the expectation is a little ridiculous.
I understand the conversations that are being had on social media because social media is unlimited. I mean, you can say whatever you want to on social media. Oftentimes, you're hiding behind whatever your profile. It's not like you really have to be held accountable for your words. So if people on social media want to talk about the rape case, then I'm not going to mute you. I mean, you say what you want. I mean, you can say what you want. When it comes to, the established media, when it comes to corporate media, I don't think it's in good taste. I don't think it's worthy. I don't think it's in good practice to go there, because you're talking about something that, one, this figure is not around to defend himself anymore. Also, you're talking about a case that never went to criminal trial. So, yes, there may be many people that say, yeah, he definitely raped a woman because he was accused of it. I mean, I don't know how anybody can be like that sure of what actually happened. I don't even remember ever taking a position on it, because a lot of the details didn't even really emerge because it never actually even went to trial. So I have never ever taken a position like, yeah, he definitely raped this woman, or no, he definitely did not rape the woman. I have no idea. I wasn't in that room, so I have never said one way or another. So that's why I think it's just in poor taste for you to go about, and like I said, especially on the airwaves, if you have some if you're corporate media and you're having this discussion, and it's like you want this to be part of his legacy. Well, you didn't have to wait until he died to actually discuss it. I mean, it's been over a decade since this actually happened. If you wanted to discuss it, I mean, he's been around. He'd been around for many years. He was around for 3 years after about 3 years after he retired from the NBA. He's not with the NBA anymore. If you want to have a conversation about it, if you want to talk about it, there was always a moment for you to discuss it. But just because he's dead now you're trying to relitigate it, not with new information, not with a word from the victim, the alleged victim. It's not like she spoke up and said anything about it. No, it's just that you're just pontificating, and you're just like, hey, he did get, charged with sexual assault, and I don't have anything of new relevance to discuss, but I just want to throw it out there because he's dead and gone now. I think that's inappropriate.
See, well, I don't necessarily mind it being a topic. I don't mind
it being mentioned.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily mind it being a topic. After he's dead, it depends on how it's done.
If you're trying to relitigate it, then that's where I have the problem. If you mention it, it's part of, no matter if he's guilty of it or not, it's definitely part of his legacy because he was charged with it. So we don't know the facts. We don't know if it happened or not, but it is definitely part of his legacy. But when you have somebody, and I'll bring up Gayle King. When you have Gayle King, when she was, given that interview and she was talking to Lisa Leslie. And it wasn't that she just brought it up. It wasn't that she just brought up the case and said, well, hey, how do we feel about this? And just let Lisa Leslie talk about it or give her a response and then move on. No, it seemed as though Gayle King wanted to relitigate the case without any added new information, without the victim saying anything about it, the alleged victim saying anything about it, without Kobe Bryant being present to say anything about it. So I think that's totally in bad form.
Okay. Like I said, I mean, I don't think it's totally out of bounds. And like you said, it's the internet, it's social media. People can say what they want, and I don't think you can avoid bringing it up. The problem I have with it is, it just, from most of what I read and what people were saying, it seemed more about, we want all of these people to acknowledge it. I'm like, y'all are doing the job. Y'all are doing that. I was like, let that be your job. If you want to relitigate the case, if you want to, I guess, make that a part of his legacy, which is weird because I don't hear them talking about his basketball. So if you're not a basketball fan and you want this part to be a part of his legacy, I don't know. That, to me, that doesn't make sense.
He's just a celebrity figure.
Yeah, he's a celebrity figure to you. But people were already talking about it. I'm looking at accounts that are getting that have hundreds of thousands of followers. Their posts are getting likes in the thousands of thousands. So there are people talking about it, whether it be in the media or social media. There are people who are making light of the allegations already. So I don't know why they were beside themselves that the NBA and ESPN, SportsCenter, Barstool, whoever was not recognizing this part of it. That's not their job. And quite frankly, like I said, how does that play out? How does that even look? Who is going to be on those networks doing that? Like what place does it have? Like what purpose does it serve? Hey, we want to take a quick break and talking about Kobe Bryant's best buzzer beaters, his best games, his relationships with the players, his time with the USA basketball team. We want to take a quick break, and we want to just acknowledge that he was accused of rape. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Now, it did happen. I watched ESPN, and there were several times where there was at least somebody that brought up, well, we do have to mention, of course he was accused, and I think it was back in 2004 of rape, and they mentioned it, but it wasn't a big discussion.
But I'm not talking about. I'm talking about a discussion.
Oh,
I did say it too, and I was thinking, I was like, wait a second, like the problem, that was another problem. It was the moment it happened that there was this expectation. It's like this seemed very unrealistic. That's the problem I had. I was like, it was immediate. Like they should talk about it now and not just mention it. They should relitigate the entire case. Not only that, they should define him by what he allegedly did. That's the problem I had. Like, wait a second. Like that doesn't even make sense.
If what happened actually went a totally different way, and the case did go on, the trial did go on, and he was convicted of it, all of this would be very different. He wouldn't be seen as this cherished figure, even by the NBA, where he is a legendary figure. He probably would have been excommunicated for the rest of his playing days from the NBA. I mean, his no matter what would have happened, no matter if he only spent maybe a year in jail or whatever, because we know that rapists don't really spend a lot of time in jail, unfortunately. But still, if that would have happened, we would have been seeing things a totally different way. The NBA would have seen things a different way. His legacy would have been primarily that. But given that the case never made its way to trial, and again, we really didn't get a lot of the facts involved. So I don't know. Again, me personally, I don't see how anybody can be so definitive about what happened, if he did rape somebody or not. Because of that, because we don't really know, time passed, and he was seen as a pariah back right when it happened, especially in Colorado. When he went to Denver to go play, they would always boo him. But given some time, he got his sponsorships back. Time heals all wounds. But especially if he's not convicted of rape, time is going to heal those wounds.
And that doesn't mean
that's not something that people are going to be delving into when there was no real outcome to there was no like he did it or he didn't do it to the case. There was no information like that. The case was dropped. So to relitigate it now, years later, just because he died, like I said, I'm not for that. If it's happening on social media, you can do that all day. And if you don't believe that it should be talked about, if you don't believe that he did commit the crime, or if you believe that there's not enough information to warrant further conversation about this supposed crime, then you can enter into those conversations on social media, and whatever. Again, anything can be discussed on social media, but when it's being relitigated on the airwaves, when hosts and anchors and contributors, if they want to do I don't see the purpose.
And also, it's like, again, if you're going to be nuanced about this, I do, and maybe Gayle King was the wrong person to bring it up too, because she is still good friends with Charlie Rose. And we know what happened with Charlie Rose, right?
Yeah,
and she offered every excuse.
Well. She
offered every excuse for him. So there's two sides to every story, even though there was like a myriad of evidence.
That's true.
So I think she got a lot of criticism, not just because of it being Kobe. It's because she's still friends with Charlie Rose.
The two things that I would criticize her about is that, one, again, it wasn't just like, well, how do we talk, do we talk about this as it's associated with Kobe? It's not like she just ask that initial question, let Lisa Leslie respond, and then, move on. No, she kept chiming in and pushing back. And it's like she wanted more from Lisa Leslie. And Lisa Leslie, I think, was fantastic in her responses. So that's one criticism I have of Gayle King. But then the other is that, so CBS clipped the interview with her and Lisa Leslie, and they only showed that portion of the interview when they were talking about the sex assault case with Kobe Bryant. So she felt, because of that, a lot of people, had some feelings about that, Snoop Dogg in particular. A lot of people had some feelings about that.
Out of her name.
Way out of her name, right? So a lot of people had some feelings about that and let that be known. Gayle King, she even felt some type of way about that because she thought that was in poor form because they only showed that snippet.
She had criticism for CBS for doing that.
Now,
like that.
She
set herself up for that.
No, but see, I don't think that's because after they did it, her take was like that was out of context. It wasn't out of context. The segment was only about sex. I mean, the context or the content was only about Kobe Bryant and that rape trial, or that charge, or that incident. But it wasn't out of context. It was 2, 3, 4 minute clip or something like that. You didn't hear it out of context. It wasn't like you heard a sound bite and didn't know what it was about, didn't hear the beginning. No, it was the beginning of that conversation and the end. So it wasn't out of context. What she was saying, it was like, well, the whole interview wasn't about that.
That doesn't think it matters.
That doesn't matter.
I don't think that matters.
The content was what matters. So she got it wrong. It was not out of context whatsoever. It was about what the content was, about your questioning and your pushback.
And you know what? People are gonna be mad at me probably about this too. I can give a fuck how Snoop Dogg responded to her, because I'm tired of having to deal with the response of something. Now we have to defend somebody because somebody else responded incorrectly, and it's somebody who, quite frankly, why would we expect some sort of like why would we expect Snoop Dogg to deliver anger in a not filthy way?
Yeah.
Like, because it's a woman, because it's Gayle King? That joker talks grimy and dirty about, I wouldn't say everybody, but if he has a beef with somebody and you do something out of pocket, that joker's gonna call you out of your name. He does it with men and he does it with women. It just seems the only reason people had a problem with Snoop Dogg's response is because she's a woman. And I heard all his misogyny and his sexist. I was like, do you know who Snoop Dogg is? Like, do you know who Snoop Dogg is? Do you know how he gets down and how he talks if he feels somebody's on some grimy shit, whether it be a man or a woman?
Well,
I just feel like it's more like people came against Snoop Dogg only because it was Gayle King, Oprah's friend, and because it was a woman. I was like, Snoop Dogg talks like that too.
Well, see, that part, I like the explicits,
I'm not down with that.
I'm not down, but still, I didn't really have that much, again, because like you're saying, like, was it surprising for somebody like Snoop Dogg to convey his feelings
like
in
that
way?
In that way.
It wasn't surprising for me. The part where I think he went
too far was the Bill Cosby stuff?
No. The part where I think he went too far was before we come get you.
But no.
Before we come get you.
But see. No. I disagree with you. I don't think that's too far because of who we're talking about. He says stuff like that all the time.
That's a threat. That's a threat.
It's Snoop. That's how he gets down.
But still, even for Snoop Dogg, that's a threat. For anybody, that's a threat.
Okay. But realistically, again, it still comes back to the same thing. How does Snoop Dogg talk, and how does he deal with things when it comes to people we think of being grimy?
But no, he can offend people. He can be flagrant in his speech, but when you threaten people.
No, it's not people. You know it's not people. Let's be real. It's a middle-aged black woman.
But no.
Because you know good and well if it was like Terry Crews. Mm-hmm. If it was Terry Crews, and let's say in response to how he kind of like threw Gabrielle Union under the bus. Mm-hmm. If he came out like that and said the same thing, people would be like, yeah, we gonna come get you. That's a threat. It just depends on who receives it and what context is it under based on how they normally respond to things. Do you really think he meant, like, yeah, we're going to send some people to your house? Do you honestly think he meant that? I think that it went just a little too far.
It didn't, like, at that
it may
point,
have went a little too far, but like,
it doesn't matter though. Because you can't just assume what somebody means. A threat is a threat. You can't assume what somebody means.
I understand that. But again, maybe if you already know who that person is, you can assume what they mean.
Nah, man, no. He was out of pocket for that. No. He
But again,
went too far. He went too far.
You know what? You could. These two things are mutually exclusive. They can exist at the same time.
He did apologize.
Yeah, he did apologize.
He did apologize.
But all he is apologizing for is how he responded. That's it. It doesn't mean. This is what I don't. This is what I hate getting into it like this, because what happens is somebody responds incorrectly, or it's perceived to be an incorrect response to something, and then guess what happens? It becomes about that. It becomes about that, and so the initial issue kind of gets shelved because maybe Snoop Dogg responded incorrectly. So now we're talking about that, and I'm like, yeah, we can talk about that, but once he apologized, he said some dirty shit to somebody. That's just another human being saying some, really explicit stuff to another human being. Okay, now that's gone. He's apologized. Okay, that happens all the time. So now let's go back to the original thing. So I think it allows people to transfer their defense to the other thing, to the initial thing. Like, we're defending Gayle King because of Snoop Dogg, what Snoop Dogg said, and it transfers to defending her in the other way, which those two things have nothing to do with one another. You see what I'm saying?
I understand that. Snoop Dogg had a very
colorful.
Yeah, but it was above too much. It was above too much. It was above what you would think would be like a negative reaction. It was above what you would think. So because of that, of course, people were going to pay attention to Snoop Dogg. When you come out with something like that, it's gonna draw attention. And again, I don't care about the colorful language. I don't care about the insults. I don't care about the explicit content. I don't care about that. But yeah, like when you just throw something out there like that, you just throw a grenade out there like we're gonna come get you. Again, it's on him to say what he means and means what he says. So if he throws something out there that can be
No, I agree. It can be perceived. I didn't say it shouldn't be perceived as a threat, and I didn't say it is out of the question to perceive it as one. My next question is, was that his intentions?
Yeah.
That's my thing. Was that did he fully intend, and was he serious?
He could have just been mad.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. I'm
and
it's still we still have a responsibility as human beings when we're mad to not go there.
Right.
But it's still.
That's why I say
that's what I'm saying. It is on him for that, and we do have a responsibility not to go there, even if we are mad. I'm saying that I personally didn't actually believe he was serious.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
I get it. All right, but anyway, with Kobe Bryant though, look, like I said, I didn't really like him as a basketball player, as a person at the time, just because I didn't.
Yeah, he wasn't my guy.
Lakers. He wasn't my guy.
He wasn't my guy.
I've always hated.
You have your guys.
Yeah, he wasn't one of my guys ever.
You know how you find really frivolous reasons to start liking or not liking the team, and sometimes they're just they're random.
Yeah. It just lasts.
It just lasts. Yeah. The only reason why I liked Michael Jordan was because, it was in the 80s.
Yeah, I saw him do dynamic things.
Yeah,
I just was drawn to him.
Yeah, well, it's and so you start to not like the teams that he plays.
Yeah, true.
So of course,
or teams that beat him.
The teams that beat him.
Yeah, you don't like.
So you don't like those teams.
Right.
And that's really the only reason why I like the North Carolina Tar Heels, because of Michael Jordan.
Right.
I'm like, that is the only reason. So you find these really frivolous, superficial reasons to like and dislike players
but
for no reason.
How I would, me personally, how I, would remember Kobe Bryant, or really for me, what his legacy would be, the Mamba mentality that he was so associated with, what he was known for, that drive to persevere and just to give it your all and, do your best. And, whatever profession you're in, whatever industry you're in, it translates. And so that's what he was, he wasn't just coaching basketball players. I mean, he was talking to many people of many different professions and lifestyles. And it was like he was a mentor to them. So, I mean, that is what I would take away from Kobe Bryant. And again, I didn't know the man personally. I never met him or anything like that. I don't have
a bias towards him
or against him.
Against
I'm not one of those people that love celebrities, and I don't even have a jersey. I don't own a jersey whatsoever. I never owned a jersey. I've always felt uncomfortable wearing somebody else's name on the back.
You know what? The only
I can't do it.
I tell you what, the only jersey I ever had was Allen Iverson's jersey. And see, only got that because of the chick. I mean, it worked. It worked like a charm.
Yeah.
That was her favorite basketball player.
Oh, then you had some motivation.
See, I had some motivation. But other than
I
that,
understand that.
other than that, yeah, I don't really.
I'm not one of those
I
guys.
never worn a jersey, bought a jersey like that.
See, he's not, a celebrity crush or anything like that. Nobody is really. But like I said, what he was trying to do really outside of basketball was really something that, I appreciated. And he even was a part of ESPN. They have a detail, like a streaming program on the ESPN Plus. And you have different athletes like Peyton Manning, Kobe Bryant was one of them, that would break down games and break down different players' styles and, just break down the plays and, show you what should have happened or what a player did very well or what a player did not do very well. And it was very insightful commentary. It's stuff that you would not hear customarily from either a coach or announcers or anything like that. It's just stuff that you did not hear. So it was really deep dives into the game of basketball that was absolutely outstanding. And if you have ESPN Plus, you can take a look at it. I mean, it's still up. But that's what I appreciated. And like I said, just what tore me up was, really his daughter, losing her life because, 13 years old, and then the other girls as well, same age. That's just a very tragic way to go. So,
and in regard to his daughter, he was constantly asked because, when professional athletes, male professional athletes, when they have sons, oh my gosh, there's immense pressure for their sons to follow in their footsteps, and most do.
The next
so-and-so. I mean, because you have
whatever.
LeBron James, his sons play basketball.
Right.
Dwayne Wade, former teammate of LeBron James, his son plays basketball. Actually, they play basketball together, I think, on the same AAU team. You have Sean Marion's son who plays basketball. Like all these specifically NBA, you have all these
Gilbert Arenas.
You have all these NBA players who have sons that play, and so
Giannis
Giannis,
just had a son. Just had a baby.
So it's like there's not only immense pressure for their kids, but they're under a lot of pressure too because it's like, hey, you got to teach your kid to play. And it usually seems to that expectation is heightened when they have boys.
Of course.
But when they have girls, like you
don't talk about it.
You don't talk about it because there's an assumption that only the son can carry the legacy. And Kobe Bryant was asked about that, and he just kept getting tired of asking that question. He's like, "Well, aren't you disappointed that you didn't have a boy, that you didn't have somebody to carry on your legacy?" And you could tell he was a little Gianna is raw, right? Like she can carry on my legacy.
Yeah, and she said that. He said that she would answer those questions because it would be asked of him when she's around too, and so she would chime in like, no, hey yo, I got this. I got the legacy. I'm gonna make it happen. And so, I mean, I've heard her described as, a beast. She had it, and she really had the inspiration and the motivation to do great things on the basketball court. Wanted to do it.
And the basketball IQ, though. Yeah. I was watching a kind of a clip on the sideline, and you could tell that they were at the game, and you could tell that like Kobe was like, hey, you know what I'm saying, just like that, like that. This chick was finishing his sentences though. Like she was 13. She was finishing his sentences, so she had like a high basketball IQ.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, like I said,
and he also did advocate for the WNBA a lot. That's
he
what a lot
did.
of WNBA.
He was one of the most, I guess, visible advocates of the WNBA. Really championing it and trying to raise more awareness for it, make people, appreciate the game.
I do think it helped. I think that that probably was propelled by the fact that he had a daughter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. As he said, he wasn't really interested in basketball until Gigi started to show interest, and then that brought him back after he retired, and they would watch games all the time, and of course he became the coach of her team, and it's just unfortunate, no matter what you feel about him, it is unfortunate. He was on his way to, coach her game. They were on the way to do something that, he loved to do with her and something that she loved to do, and, unfortunate. It's very sad, very tragic, so. But that's what we got. Yeah. That's our analysis on it. Nuanced, I think, but people feel, whatever they, and I'm sure that those conversations will still continue to be had.
Because they're still doing tributes here and there.
Yeah. I did like the way a lot of the tributes were done by the NBA.
I think
it was pretty well.
Did you see I think it was the game. He got a tattoo. Like right above his eye.
Did he?
Yeah, like was his left eye? I can't remember which side, but
LeBron got it.
He got like it's like an 8 sideways 8, like right on his eye, like on his face.
Damn.
Like right there.
LeBron got like a big ass tattoo on his thigh. You can see that?
Yeah, I saw it.
I was like, damn, that's a little much.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Damn, that's a lot, man.
I'm not really a tattoo guy.
No,
I mean, I don't know what would ever prompt me to
zero.
get one.
I got zero.
Yeah, I got 0 tattoos. So my
up.
body's boring.
Yeah,
My body's straight boring. So, but I don't know what will prompt me to get one. But I probably will never have one.
Yeah.
And
this
if
point,
if I ever get one, it won't be right here. It won't be
not on the face. I mean, like you can't go back. Like I mean. That's just somewhere.
And it also depends on who you are, because I saw the little Twitter trends that showed games tattoo, then the letter 8 for Kobe, and then some other people got face tattoos around the same time. I think it was Amber Rose and Chris Brown. They both got face tattoos. Chris Brown got like the Jordans. I forgot which version. Like right here.
I mean, I guess these are people that
don't ever have to go to interviews,
and wouldn't probably never hold a regular job.
No. So they can get tattoos on them.
They can. So, yeah, me face absolutely not.
When people see a tattoo on your face, they be like, they don't care about nothing.
Smitty said, legit question, why don't people with rather dark skin get white ink tattoos? Hold on. I can't make out a black ink tattoo on a dark black person unless I'm right next to them.
That's funny that you said that, because as soon as I said, like, start talking about tattoos, that's exactly what I think about. Like,
I don't know the answer to that question.
I know.
I don't have a tattoo. I don't live in that world. So
yeah.
I have no idea. But yeah, it does usually end up looking like a blue, kind of like dark.
Probably there's tattoo artists that know how to kind of color different skin tones better than other tattoo artists.
Possibly.
It's an art, just like anything else.
I know anything about it, so I have no idea. Yeah. All right, let me see any comments maybe that I do want to point out our super chatters. That's Django Fett. Thank you very much with the.
What, the emoji?
Is
that a hippo? Is that
yeah.
a hippo? Hippopotamus?
Is it hippo?
Is that a hippo? I think those are hippopotamuses.
Could be hippos. Could be hippos.
Different.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that one.
No, I haven't seen that. And also Gaillard.
Of course.
Thank you very much, both of you, for contributing to the show, throwing a little bit of your hard-earned dollars to us. We appreciate that. And definitely want to mention our patrons on patreon.com as well. Thank you very much for consistently donating and contributing financially to this platform. We really do appreciate that. Just want to see if there's anything in here.
Oh, those comments that Trump made about Bloomberg, it came in 2007.
Oh, okay. Jeffrey Kale said about Kobe, yeah, Mamba mentality, his budding business skills, and being a good father made him special. I have to agree with that. Let's see. Mr. Dead in My Pocket talking about Bloomberg. Bloomberg's passive-aggressive racism sits much better with whites than Trump's dipshit statements. Bloomberg makes whites more comfortable with racism. He's much more dangerous than Trump. It's a good comment. Amy Fink. Bloomberg is not exactly an improvement over Trump.
Yeah, if it's not an improvement, like, then what's the point? And like, it's even. I mean, I know she's corporate media. I know she is. She displays her bias towards Bernie Sanders and actually progressive politics in general, just all the time. So I understand she's there, but for her to just like float the idea, and her co-host too, I forgot her name, like they were essentially floating the idea that we need somebody like Trump to beat Trump. I'm like,
oh, you're talking about Joy Reid? You said Joy Reid?
well, it was Joe Reid and some other hosts too. They were kind of going back and forth.
Right? Wallace was,
I can't remember, but it might be her. But yeah, it was basically they were
Nicole
saying
Wallace was.
they were saying that like, hey, maybe that's what we need to beat Trump.
Yeah, she said something about how you need. Like, she didn't say Hollywood. She
Edge,
said
some kind of edge.
she said, well, showbiz. She said you need showbiz to beat showbiz.
But it's Bloomberg showbiz though. Yes, he does. He has money into different. He puts money in different things like money platforms and whatnot. And he's but is he really showbiz?
She also said that you need a Republican to beat a Republican, and Bloomberg was a former Republican.
But
this analysis is so sloppy.
I was like, wait a second.
I'm like, man, this is horrible.
Okay, so you have all you're going to do is just some displacement. That's all that's going to happen is displacement. So that means
Another
nothing's
Republican.
Nothing's
That's
going to
great
change.
for the Democratic Party. That's wonderful.
Wait a second.
Excellent analysis.
You know what else this means? This means that MSNBC's, I'm not saying all the hosts don't do this, but there's always this undertone of, Bernie Sanders is like Trump, right? Mm-hmm. Right? They keep saying that.
Trump on the left?
He's a Trump on the left. His supporters are like MAGAs, And I'm just thinking, I was like, wait a second. I thought Bernie was like Trump. So if you're saying we need a Trump-like person or a Republican to beat or whatever, like why not Bernie be that guy? You've been comparing him to Trump this whole time.
Yeah. Populist just like Trump, right? Jean said, Mike and Will, I miss you too. Don't let it happen again. She blew a kiss, I'm assuming.
See? No, that kiss is for both of us. Shut up. See, I knew you were going to say something.
I'm just
She said Mike and Will.
But the kiss, it wasn't two kisses.
Watch it. See, now you getting too specific.
I am. Jesse Wood said, oh, sorry about that stop and frisk thing. Whoops.
You know what?
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. You joking?
Oh, was that not
the right thing to do? It was a mistake,
Yeah.
like Benjamin said.
Smitty said, mistakes are unintentional. And that's true.
That's true.
This was not
This is not unintentional. That's why it's so disingenuous for the mayor, for Will's mayor.
I said because I wasn't listening too. Benjamin.
Yeah, that's why it's just disingenuous for him to go at it and to approach it like that. Like it's just being. It doesn't seem like he actually believes the words that are coming out of his mouth. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't have to go out of your way to kind of, I guess, re-narrate what Bloomberg actually did. We do have a narrative already.
Yeah. Final Fantasy Draft with Super Chat and included the message Bloomberg met with president of the Nevada Union bashing Bernie. I wouldn't be surprised.
Talking about culinary union?
Yeah. Even though, I mean, again, he's not competing in that state, but still, he plans on being around for a while. You know what? Maybe, just if I have just a second here, because I saw that the Culinary Union was going to make an announcement, I believe, on an endorsement. And I believe it was today. No. Oh, so they were just making an announcement on, I guess, if they were going to endorse or not. And they decided not to endorse.
Yo.
So they're not endorsing anybody.
Do you know what that says? That says all this shit that was going on with them for the past couple of days was only to bash Bernie.
Oh, yeah. Yep. No doubt. You know what? We're going to make a lot of noise, a lot of racket, cause a lot of stir, but we're going to stay out of it.
And you know, those other candidates that piled on, they were probably bucking for an endorsement. So they're probably trying to kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Let's try to smash Bernie down.
Is it going to harm Bernie?
No, I'm telling you, it's quite funny because, usually when you have a politician, a representative, especially those who are running for president, their follower count goes up on social media. Most of the comments under tweets are very positive. You go, girl. Yeah, that's right. Fight the good fight. Like, president, whatever, malarkey 2020, whatever. Whatever they're saying is usually positive. Positive things under their tweets. Both Biden and Warren and Klobuchar shared that culinary union tweet. Under their posts, nothing but pushback. There's nobody, either the people that are fans of those candidates and supporters of those candidates maybe are just staying away. Maybe there's not enough of them to drown out the pushback, but all three of those candidates, nothing but pushback under those replies. So it just not having the effect. Because if there was people that are supportive of those candidates that really had anything to say that would alleviate the criticism that they were receiving under those tweets, be there. And they'd have likes.
Yeah.
But all the responses is just pushback, and this is 100,000 likes. I'm just like,
well, we're talking about campaigns that are on the downward spiral. So,
But there's some people, a lot of people that are still following candidates that dropped out. Like Gaillard, Kamal, oh my gosh, they are still like, they're heavy. They're swarming. The K-Hive is still swarming on social media. Like Kamala Harris is still there. They were complaining that, why isn't Kamala Harris still in the race? Somebody said something about, I guess there was an article that got what's that? Damn, I forgot that journalist, but he released an article talking about something about the lack of minorities, and all the Kamala Harris fans were just all up under that tweet. There was an article he wrote about there not being minorities. Well, Kamala this and Kamala, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're still here. They're still here.
All right, that's what we got for you tonight. We hope that you enjoyed the program, and we hope that you join us for next week's broadcast. Plan on being here. As you can see, I do feel a little bit better. I think I am still a little bit sick, but I was able to get through it a little bit more than the last show on Tuesday. I was suffering towards the end on Tuesday. But tonight, not so bad. Probably, hope things are looking up. This weekend's coming. We won't be back till Tuesday. I don't know if there's anything particular going on this weekend. Not to my knowledge. I don't really look too far ahead, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, hope everybody enjoys the weekend, and hope that you join us for next week's program on Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. At least that's what we got right now. We will let you know if anything changes. But that you join us.
I want Super Tuesday to come so fast.
Yeah. Now, next week is the next primary, Nevada. And so I guess next week is the debate, too. Yeah. I don't know what day it is, though. We'll have to look that up. If it falls on Tuesday, then maybe there will be some changes to the program. We'll see. But we'll let you know. We'll let you know, in advance what our plans are. But for now, we will see you next week. Everybody have a good night and a good weekend. Peace out.